last time. And you might die tonight. Feel free. Tell them what happened.
Where did we leave off between sessions?
I think the very beginning of the session was honestly just like the boat curving around from the north and the appearance of the deep lurker, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the northern boat had just got destroyed because I specifically asked Chris, could you just like get Peach to that atoll so she'd be safe and no boats would crash into her?
Yeah, the deep lurker like used its tail to smash the boat.
Yeah, so the boat gets smashed, bodies go flying everywhere. People hit the water. Casey's watching this from the other boat as Salinger's rowing through the water at speed. Doc's also there. And then the sharks start swarming on a couple people in particular. So Shalati and Beth are the two in particular. Beth has grown to a massive size, sinks to the bottom, and a bunch of sharks follow her down there. Shalati is just there in the midst of it, wailing on sharks as this giant fish is casting magic and doing all these weird mind games and stuff like that. Casey is standing on the bow of the boat, just raining magic at this giant creature, just throwing poison and lightning and stuff like that. Esmond is in the fray too, and soon the sharks start focusing on Esmond and attacking him as well. As the boat rounds the bend, Salinger is going at full speed, and he's like, "This is a good place." Jumps off, dives into the water, gets right to where the shark is there. The big guy is there with the thing. Boat, still moving at speed, starts curving towards the rocks there. Doc's like, "I got this," jumps in, grabs the oars, smashes right into Peach, standing on the rocks, knocking her into the water. Boat's stranded there as the chaos is still unfolding. Right about this time, the sharks just swarm all over Esmond and just start hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and down him, essentially. Esmond falls unconscious in the water, and all these sharks swirl around him, and the giant fish at this point speaks in the minds of all the people there. And it's this gurgling, bubbling noise that you would probably recognize as a language that Esmond speaks. It's a form of primordial called Aquan. And it's gurgling and buggling, booms out through the minds of everyone. Casey stands up on the bow of the boat. Doc, seeing Esmond go down, whips up some quick magic, heals him right up. And then Casey stands up a little straighter and then yells back at the giant fish in a language you've heard him speak, Ignan, another form of primordial. And yeah, Casey is pointing and yelling and pissed. And at this point, once Casey finishes yelling, all the sharks are like swooping in towards Shalati and Esmond, and they all stop. Everybody stops. All the sharks stop. The big fish stops. And then about 2 seconds later, Shalati's like, "The hell with this," and just keeps on swinging and starts killing sharks and everything like that. And battle breaks out again. Everybody's fighting and everything like that. And shortly thereafter, Esmond comes swimming up to the top. It's like, "Stop, stop, everybody stop, stop." And everyone stops. The creature gurgles a little bit more. Casey talks back to the creature in Ignan. A little more settled this time, but tell he means business. And creature pauses there. Everyone else pauses. And then the creature and all the fish leave. And then Kabeth busts out from the half of the ship and is like, I got it. I found it, guys. And yeah, that's about how the battle went.
Any other important details anyone wants to add?
Excellent summary. Thank
you. Between the instance in which there was a small lull in the battle and Shalati attacked, and before the second instance of peace being offered, more fighting occurred, and I believe it was during that window that the massive creature turned to flee, and in spite of being 1/50th of the creature's size, Shalati just grabs onto its fin and basically won't let it get away, which is impressive.
you. Shalati, girl.
Yeah, she was pissed. Salinger also did a really cool thing where he was like up on the top of the fish, jumped into the air, and like spun a spear around his head that just flew into the water and then punched the fish in the back. That was really good.
It's exactly the way I planned for that to go. The spear was intimidation. The punch was the attack.
Turns out, despite not being trained, you really do not want to get punched by Salinger.
And one last for clarification, just to make sure this was entirely clear. Doc was rowing the boat and Casey was navigating, and for some reason she was like, is it all clear? And he's like, yeah, there's no one. There's definitely no one in front of you. I don't know why Casey would have said that when Peach was right there.
To add a little bit of tension to the narrative, during the course of all the things that were just listed, Shalati nearly dies more than once, as gets knocked unconscious and nearly dies more than once, and Kabeth is all by herself on the bottom of the ocean, getting ripped apart by sharks, almost dying.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Kabeth seriously was basically out of reach from everyone and had 7 sharks coming after her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was down to she was down to the last of her life. She was about twice the distance away from anyone to be able to cast a spell, much less be able to help, surrounded by sharks. And she was saved when Esmond had a idea to use his shocking grasp by plunging his hand into the gill of the large creature and shocking it essentially from the inside. And it pulled the attention of not just the creature, but all the other sharks. And had he not done that, it's hard to imagine a world where Kabeth did not just outright die.
So Peach is mad at all her friends. You all were very foolish idiots, and I was Yes?
Esmond was a very effective tank, though, I will say.
Esmond's made of, feathers and clockwork.
Yes, but also, because he's a feather, he just keeps, floating above everyone trying to hit him.
That's true.
You'll be glad to know that Chris's interpretation of your actions were you exactly scolding us for our foolish behavior as you healed us repeatedly.
Yeah. Every time you did scold someone, they got healed, though.
Yeah, you were like, we got to get out of here. What are you guys doing?
Also, apparently, at the end, I didn't realize this went out to everyone else, but I don't know if this part was broadcasted to everyone, but, or if he just said it aloud. But the Deep Lurker had some sort of message about Esmond knowing how to do the thing that he wanted.
That was spoken in Aquan.
That was spoken? Okay, alright. So I guess the only things that were actually sent to everyone was the Deep Lurker's rage at its mate being killed, and then also images of Ishtalan as a child in the ocean.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But also communicated was the desire of the Deep Lurker for the portal, essentially. It wants to go through. Some other things, certainly, that were experienced objectively that have to be described. Yeah, I mean, Ava certainly touched on it, but after your boat was destroyed and splintered and you were found in the water, you managed to climb your way up onto the rocks. Shortly after, because we have to remember, I think this entire battle lasted 45 seconds. So within seconds within seconds of climbing up onto the rocks, a boat smashed into the rocks and knocked you back into the water, Peach. A Araya was in the water getting attacked by a shark, and Seyfried jumped into the water, and you saw like black tendrils kind of moving with her in the water. And she intercepted the shark that was attacking Araya, and was like bunny kicking and defending Araya.
That's very cool. And Seyfried saved me earlier when she yanked me back in the boat initially.
That's true.
She
Oh.
an ass.
True bunny hero! Come to save the day!
I was watching My Hero Academia, and there's a bunny hero in it, and I was just like, it's Seyfried saving the day.
Also, I don't know if that specific tiger shark died, but it was a kind of mortal enemy, because it was the one shark that Seyfried was having a fight with the entire time. So they were going at it, man. Like
It was harrowing.
Oh,
Yeah.
but now I ship it, though. Seyfried plus Mako Shark.
Enemies to lovers.
In love.
450k.
What happens if I just gently kiss it on the nose?
Roll persuasion.
You know, those skills are only rough the wrong way.
This is like a Zelda Breath of the Wild fanfiction starting. Alright, we're gonna get started here. Off the coast east of Shepherd's End, there is a tear in the world. It stretches for 50 feet like a knife pulled through the ocean, burning its edges. It leads to some other place. The deep lurker, strange and alien creature, wants to go through. The swarm of sharks have dispersed. You can still see them circling meanderingly at a distance, but not aggressive. And they've allowed you to begin searching the wreckage of the ship for supplies. The seas are rough, wind scraping mist and water from the tops of the waves, crashing them against the nearby rocks. Yev waving where he's lowered the rope so you can climb out of the water. There's still the pink of blood in the sea around you. Many of you are in bad shape, but for the moment, the creature, the beast, the deep lurker, has retreated into the murky depths. I think, Seyfried, you had mentioned you wanted to do something.
I have something that I want to do before we leave and before like the 24 hours is up on our water breathing, but it doesn't have to be the first thing. It's literally just tiny.
Okay. Kabeth has already found the sunstone in the hidden stash in the captain's quarters of the wreckage of the ship. On the floor of the ocean in the cargo hold are still intact supplies, large crates, barrels, significant bounty for having taken the risk of finding the ship and facing the dangers that awaited you here. You have what seems to be an opportunity without threat to gather the supplies that you've come here for. And it's still a full day, an exhausting day of walking to get back to town, more than you could do in a comfortable hike. Nothing that you would invite your friends to go on a reasonable day trip. Certainly, some time passes as you guys begin to haul supplies out of the water, and somewhere in this time, Seyfried, if you want to.
So kind of looking around, is there anyone who looks like they have their hands empty? Who isn't like in imminent, like supremely damaged.
Peach is not damaged significantly at all.
Cool. Seyfried pulls off her pack, sort of like a kind of a dome-shaped like basket that she made for all of our water adventures, and reaches in, shuffles around, and pulls out a couple of like compact discs, and she stands up. She kind of like looks around, like peering into the depths, and then shakes out one of the discs with a big like whoomp, and it like pops open into like a little expandable basket with straps on it. Peach, hold this.
Yeah? Oh, all right. Peach will hold on to it.
And anyone else that looks like they have their hands open, she like pops open another bag, and then
where are you getting these from? You're just
we make them. They're just like little woven baskets, like a reusable shopping bag, but they're super handy. And she dives back into the water, deep down, and then and stays under for a while until eventually re-emerging from the depths with a huge handful of kelp, which she slops onto like the boat or the dock or the shore.
We do not need camouflage anymore, Safford. What is this?
Listen, this beautiful, it's like this super vibrant red, like glowing, not glowing, but like incredibly vibrantly colored kelp. My mom made me promise, and you do not break a promise that you make to something more powerful than you. And she starts loading kelp into the baskets.
Wait, your mom made you promise to bring a bunch of this nonsense home?
For context, we're a family of weavers that make things out of like fibers and grasses for a living.
Well, then it wouldn't be very weird.
Yeah, it's material harvesting.
Acquired some red kelp.
What are you making?
Well, you can make plenty of things with this, but mostly it's good for anything that needs to be watertight or water resistant. Yeah, it weaves just like any other of our grasses, and it keeps its shape really well, pretty hardy. It kind of when it's done and treated properly, it's a lot like leather.
Is that the same sort of thing you made your armor out of?
Similar but different. This is a kind of blades grass, which it's waxy, so I thought it would be useful for this purpose as well. But no, we don't really. This kelp doesn't grow in our neck of the woods, so it's kind of hard and unreasonable to come out just for this. So.
Well, I'll fill up the baskets with whatever you all deem is valuable, whether it's kelp or sunstones or armor or shark fins, whatever y'all need. Happy to tote it out.
Just so it doesn't get completely just lost in translation, I want to do a little scene with the tear. After some work, you've gotten the supplies ashore, or at least into the dinghy. It's exhausting work, but everything that seems like it's recoverable, or at least worth recovering, you've gotten out of the water or into the boat. At some point, for everyone who wants to be there, you find yourselves on the far side of the northeastern crescent of rocks. And there you can see a portal, much like the one you saw in the forest, much like the one in the Temple of the Maiden Thrice. A jagged gash in the sea beneath the water that leads to some other place.
Creature wants to go through this. We just gotta make it a little bigger. Send him on his way.
And you see probably Esmond taking measurements and swimming around, having a better look at it.
Is it big enough to fit one of us right now?
No, right now it's too small to fit a person through. It's narrow, but it's like a slice that's like torn, like a tear in a piece of paper.
Okay.
It's very long though, almost 50 feet if you had to guess.
Like
So,
horizontal.
Say that again, Charlotte.
Like horizontal. So
Yeah.
so I guess the idea is to make it very big and then hopefully instantaneously make it very, very small again.
Is there something maybe we should test? Should we maybe like test to see that we can close it before we make it bigger first? Like,
No, Ez has got all that. No need to worry about it.
all right, I mean, he knows what he's doing, I suppose.
So, we have, I guess he's not here, but sir, we have everything you need, Esmond, to like do this.
Yeah. See if I can do it as. Oh, yeah. Well, now that we have the sunstone, that should be everything we need. I'm going to need, I'm going to take some time to work. I'll be in the workshop, but.
And sleep. Get some actual sleep too.
Yeah, you sound a little funny.
It's all the seawater.
Gotta rest, heal up all those shark bites.
We are well neti potted right now.
Yeah, and our skin will feel amazing.
Another spa episode.
I think it is
Beach
noticeable.
day.
It is noteworthy that Casey did not go in the water one
Not
bit.
even a little.
Even collecting supplies afterwards, he was helping bring it onto the boat and ferry it to shore, but never went in the water.
Noted for later teasing.
Well, Peach did tell you once, Araya, that she wouldn't push Casey in the water. She'd fuck with Ez that way, but she wouldn't put Casey in.
I would. I was too busy though. Apparently.
Well, if we're still down there, I guess if we know where it is and we have all the stuff that we need, we just have to head back. I'm ready to get out of the water. These sharks are still kind of creeping me out.
I think for this entire time, including all the unloading and debarking, etc. of the ship, Charlotte has not actually been around. But whenever people come up to the surface again, you can probably see her on that little piece of rock that was jutting out of the water where the ship, or where the boats were mostly holed up on. And she's looking at the pieces of the boat, the dinghy that was smashed, and is like trying to, like, very slowly, like trying to haul pieces of it together and looking at them, as of trying to figure out if they can be put back together like a puzzle.
Should somebody go talk to her?
I'll go. After everything is loaded up, Cyphered will dive back in and smoothly swim over. She climbs up out of the water Hey, Shalati. We're ready to get out of here.
She starts a little bit surprised, which is probably something that Cypher is used to receiving. But it's a little bit unusual for Shalati because she's usually either so stoic or so aware of what's around her that it's a little bit hard to take her by surprise. And she turns around and holds up the pieces. She basically has one half of a boat in one hand and then like several planks in the other and says, I think we might need 2 boats again. Should we take them back?
Like, carry back the pieces?
Esmond can fix it, right?
It's
Is it-
clock rat, not ship rat.
How badly damaged is the boat? Like, is it just a bunch of flotsam?
Yeah, it was smashed pretty good.
Cypher regards the smithereens of what used to be a dinghy, and seems to consider it. No, I think we're probably fine. I'm not sure there's much that we can do for this particular dinghy. We'll just have to make do with what we've got.
Guess that's what we've always done. And she drops the pieces as they splash back and bob again with the waves. Is it
No way out but through.
She seems to be about to say something and then shakes her head and says, I had some sort of thought about birthing animals, and that doesn't always work out very well, but I'm not sure it makes sense. And then she looks back toward the others and dives back into the water.
Cypher to follow.
Of note also, her coloration is weirdly more waxen than it has than you've probably seen before. Like, she's usually very dark and like the upper half of her face is almost pure black, but it's almost gray now, and her eyes are kind of like washed out.
Is that something that any of us would have seen on you before?
No. I'm pretty sure she doesn't shed, so... No, this is... I don't know how many people actually saw it happening underwater, so this is something that seems to have happened at post-fight.
When they eventually get back on shore, if Doc has a good chance to look at her, she's going to try to examine her a little bit closer, noting the weird nature of it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you want to do that right when you're back at shore, or save that so you guys are at camp?
Back at shore, just because her looking this rough after that kind of fight would make sense.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh my gosh, Shalati. Hey. Can you come over? Can you come over here for a second? I just take a seat over here for a second.
She just gets up and moves over to the seat indicated.
All right. She's gonna start doing a fairly routine exam, just checking the usual things in terms of like looking at sort of her eyes and her skin, doing pulse, the normal stuff that a doctor or a medic might try to do. Yeah. And then she's going to just basically do an investigation over her, just do a checkup and ask her some questions about how she's feeling. I think that it looks like this fight really took it out of you. How are you doing? How are you feeling overall? Like,
I think it took something from me. But
yeah?
I don't know what.
Okay. Do you know, can you be any more specific? Do you know, does it feel like something physical? Are you feeling tired? Or to tell me, try to think on it a little bit more, like use more words.
I am tired. But I'm always tired one way or another. But it is... My head is... And she kind of just raises her forehead. And it doesn't hurt. But there's... It's hard to think. There's... And I feel like I lost something, but I don't know what.
Okay, that's good. No, that's really helpful. And she's gonna start like looking at her head a little bit more. And I'll use a few different instances of magic to try to examine her a little more closely. I'm gonna, in character, attempt to see what she can discover about what has happened to Shalati.
Well, roll a Arcana check and a Medicine check. Yeah, certainly you realize that she seems a little distracted, a little slow. You've read about symptoms like this of people eat certain types of moss or mushrooms, or sometimes the boiled bark of some types of trees. Maybe someone who, if they have an addiction and they're recovering, they're in withdrawal from that. Sometimes that could be a cause, but it's hard to know. With the 12 Arcana, I mean, it's hard to know. You just encountered some magical creature. And if maybe it used some sort of magic on her. But I will say, with the high medicine roll, I think you probably see some puncture wounds on the back of her, like neck and shoulders.
Okay. All right. Yeah, with one of her last remaining spell slots, maybe her last one, I can't remember, I'll check her in a second. She sort of like looks her over and says, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just see if I can do anything about this. And she's going to take let's see. It's so hard when you don't know what the affliction is. Okay. She's going to take out from her bandolier a small tuning fork and sort of rap against this thing and sort of make gestures on either side of her Shalati's head, on one side of her ear and then the other, sort of going back and forth, and then gesturing with her hand with the other. And although I don't expect it to do much, she casts Lesser Restoration on her friend.
Okay. Yeah. Shalti, you regain 1 point of your missing statistics.
Okay. All right. Is that better? Do you feel any different?
Seem to regain a little bit of the color that was leached out of them. And she blinks a little and shakes her head as if trying to clear something from it. And says, I do feel a little less weird. Yes.
Okay.
And she looks up at Ava and says, Ava, Thok, Evashka, your sister is Lily. I remember that. And you were apprenticed to Tridi, and then she's basically going to start like going through what she remembers about Ava's family and friends and her past and her history, which at one point she starts going into. And then you had that crush on, I mean, you never admitted it, but you had that crush on...
Okay, you sound fine to me. No, up until that point, she is a little bit concerned and sort of nods along as she's getting the information, just sort of taking note and watching her. Before they part, she sort of like pats her on the hand and reassures her. It's like, okay, well, I think some rest, and when we get back and settle in, I think whatever is going on, I feel really confident that we can take care of it. Okay, so you're gonna be fine.
She squeezes her hand before she goes and says, "Thank you. I do not know if I would still be here if you had not helped during the battle."
I mean, that's why I'm here, just doing my job. Just sort of smiles and leaves her to go back to the group.
As the waves crash against the shore, the flames of your campfire spark and rise. It is almost a full day later. You have hauled supplies with sled and travois and ropes kind of from the coast and, back towards Shepherd's End. So you're about halfway there. You have a camp set up now, and you've pushed yourselves to the point of exhaustion. And it's time to rest.
I guess when they pull up to the area where they're going to make camp, as soon as the fire had sort of started, Ava just falls basically onto her back on the grass and just sort of collapses in an exaggerated exhaustion kind of state. Her arms spread out by her side.
Doc.
Mm.
Doc.
Mm.
You're not asleep yet, right?
Mm. What is it?
Show me how to do that boomerang thing.
No, Casey, I'm too tired. I can't. Not now.
No, I'd seen you do that before. And you just threw it out and it curved around. Show me how to do that. Come on, you can show me. I want to be able to do it too. Come on.
She, after more prodding, starts to get up and begrudgingly starts to try to show Casey what she did.
Describe what you did.
She's saying, okay, well, it's just sort of like so many other things, a manipulation of energy. So you just kind of feel, well, I think that it's different for different people, but I feel like you do it in a similar fashion. It's relatively intuitive, I think, or maybe innate, but it's definitely not what Esmond does. So whatever you use, you kind of, well, I guess I can only talk about what I do. You feel for that pull, right? The one where you're sort of touching on the energy that's like everywhere and all around. And then she sort of makes this slow gesture of her hand that almost looks like the outline of a star that progressively starts in front of her body, and then as the star shape is being made, it ends with the last point behind her. She then whips her hand around in an arc, but she's doing this very slowly to demonstrate, and then pulls it into her chest. And she says, so that's the slow version. And then when you speed it up, it looks like, and she does the same thing, but she speeds it up. And as her hand sort of goes through the star movement, the tips of her fingers start to glow until finally she does the arc and it forms the boomerang.
Describe, what do people see when the boomerang?
Okay. Yeah, she pulls her arm to her chest, and then out in a wide, this illumination of energy in the shape of sort of a glowing boomerang goes in a wide arcing circular pattern away from Eva, and in what looks like a very very near perfect circle, I would say, out from her, around, and then comes all the way back. And when it comes back to where she is, it sort of dissipates, and the energy, if you could see it, would basically just fade back into her.
Yeah, just, oh, that was awesome!
Yeah, it's not really, it doesn't hurt a lot. It's not designed to, but it can be kind of distracting, I guess.
Okay. So you find energy around you? Casey kind of frowns a little bit and like tries to mimic the same motions that Doc does, and moves his hands and swings his arm in the same pattern, and nothing happens. I mean, are you sure that's what you're doing?
Yes, I'm sure that's what I'm doing.
It's like, I mean, I can show you how to do the knives. That's the simplest thing in the world. You just think, I really want a knife right now. And you reach into the air and then he pulls a blade of kind of like crackling energy. Almost looks like flames, but it's not fire. It's more energy than anything. And you just pull it out of the air, and if you need a second one, and he reaches up and grabs a second one and pulls it out of the air and has two crackling blades of energy and slings them down into the ground. And when they hit the ground, they spark a bit and then disappear, and there's no mark left in the ground. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Like, I mean, I could show you how to do that, but
Yep says, oh, that's like when you're wearing thick socks when it's cold and you're walking across, and then you reach out and pow pow.
it's exactly like that. Are you sure that's what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
Well,
I'll try to...
try the knife thing. Like, maybe.
But I don't want a knife. I don't think I can do that.
I mean, you have to want a knife if you're gonna pull a knife out of the air.
Well, yeah, but I don't want a knife.
Just try it. Just try it.
You're not even going to try? Cypher's voice appears like right behind Ava as if she's been standing there the whole time.
Every time. Okay, I will... No, I won't. I will try this. Casey, I don't think you're a good teacher. I will admit, though, that was really cool. The knife thing is actually pretty awesome, actually, but...
Well, hey, we can try together.
Okay.
It couldn't be simpler.
All right.
So, walk us through the steps again.
So you're there, right? And you really want a knife. You just... Doc, you have to want a knife.
All right, I'm wanting a knife.
And then you pull one out of the air. And he pulls one out. Slings it into the ground. It's all from within. You don't have to think about anything going on out in the world. No energies floating around you or anything like that.
So the knife is inside you?
It all comes from here.
Uh,
Ideally, the knife's in someone else. He kind of points to a room. But yeah, that's all you got to do. Easiest thing.
Eva closes her eyes, having like watched this thing and trying it. She sort of seems to be a little petulant on her face, and then pauses with a slight smirk, and then she imagines very hard that she really, really, really wants a spoon, and she tries doing the same gesture to see if she can pull one out of herself. I don't think she's successful.
Cypher closes her eyes after shaking all of her energy out. Closes her eyes, takes a few deep centering breaths, imagines really, really wanting a knife. Thinks about it extra hard. And then reaches out to grab it. Oh! Oh my God! And in her hand is a long, slender thorn, black like the vines that spread out like tentacles around her.
Yes. See, Doc? That's what I'm talking about.
No. Wait, you guys set me up. That was you could always that's not you didn't just do that.
You've never seen this before. I've never seen this before. What the fuck is this?
Did you really
She like drops it and it tumbles out of her grasp and disappears.
Seyfried, you did it.
Casey,
Yeah.
it worked.
Of course it worked.
It actually worked. Casey was right.
I don't believe you guys.
You said it!
You hear a from the other side of the camp.
Seyfried like closes her eyes and then reaches out and snatches it again, and there's another one. Oh! Where was this like an hour ago?
Yes.
I was
Now,
inside you the whole time.
Seyfried, show me how to do the tentacle thing with the...
Well,
Yeah, you were in the water with all the tentacles that... Yeah, show me how to do it.
I mean, I just closed my eyes and thought really hard. I really want tentacles right now.
Oh, wait, no, that's not all. I forgot. It's really important that you submerge yourself in water, Casey. So, like, you submerge yourself in water. That's, like, one of the essential steps. I think you told me about that earlier, Seyfried.
That's right. You have to be completely submerged in order for the tentacles to work.
And Yev says, wait, something's wrong. I want the knife more than anyone's ever had the knife and whatever. And I can't, it's not there.
No, you just have to keep practicing and have a better teacher than Doc. No, I've seen you do those tentacles outside of water. Come on, what's the trick? Casey stands back in front of the fire, kind of breathes in deeply.
Well, the trick is this. And Seyfried kind of shows her upper arms. And you notice a twirling pattern in her fur that you know she didn't grow up with. It's just from this. It's like they're on me. They're like vines, and I can like have them come out or not.
Okay. I mean, it's really freaking awesome. I don't have those, but kind of steps back and it's like, I do have these, and he opens his shirt up a little bit and you can see the magma lines running through. A lot of them he's had his entire life, but you see there are some new ones from places where he was injured in recent battles. They've healed and kind of turned red and glowing like his other magma lines. And he leans back and breathes out deeply, and his magma lines kind of get a little bit brighter, and the fire in front of him gets a little bit brighter, and his shadow is cast back onto the ground and up onto the trees. And he takes a step forward towards the fire, and his shadow gets a little bigger on the backdrop. And then slowly a little shadow starts to appear out from his shoulder up onto the tree, and kind of slithers up out of his shoulder and over onto the canopy and looms over the campsite. And then Casey grins. So this is how you do it. And then two eyes open up on that shadow, and a grin appears there. A face that Esmond has seen before. I think you other people have seen it before as well. It's Moe's. shadowing out from Casey's shadow, and he's like, Casey looks up at it like, never mind.
So the last time Sefred and Ava saw this in the other side?
Yeah, we saw Mose inside the tear.
Oh yeah.
I don't actually know how much everyone else has seen it, though.
Yeah, Casey doesn't hide Mose, and Mose kind of pops up here and there.
Yeah, you've seen some weird things regarding Casey's shadow, and Kabeth like has a muffin in her mouth, and she points.
Yeah, as it slinks back into his shadow, he's like, never. I'll just practice more. But
That is really disturbing. Kabeth, where did you get that muffin? No, but yeah, she does literally just eye the shadow a little bit. Have we asked, out of character, have we asked openly about the shadow before? Like, have we asked Casey?
No.
Okay. She's going to look
I did
at...
once.
Okay. If no one else does, Doc's going to look at, like, the shadow and Casey and back at Seifert and back at Casey and be like, Casey, what is that?
Yeah, what's up with your shadow, dude?
Casey is kind of flopped back down onto a sideways log and just sits back, and it's just like, what do you mean, my shadow?
I mean, you've got a freaky shadow. It's got eyes.
It's
We
smiling
saw
at me.
it.
No, my shadow is normal. Are you talking about Mose?
You have two shadows.
Well, I mean, if there are multiple light sources, but no, that's neither here nor there. It's, yeah, Mose, he just hangs out.
Casey, don't pretend like that's a normal thing.
We just fought a giant psychic fish that came from another dimension.
Yeah, that's deflection. Don't do that.
None of this all is normal, all right? Cypher just pulled a thorn out of her hand and used it like a weapon.
The thorn did
Alright.
not smile at me.
Well, I'm not saying that it's normal. I'm saying, Casey, everything is weird. Reveal your weird things, please. For all our sakes.
I mean, usually I have a few drinks first, but
Yes, yeah. Yeah, but didn't it make stars like glow all over your body earlier?
Yeah, I can explain that, and I will right after this thing gets done.
I mean, most doesn't really talk, but I mean, Moses has been hanging out with us for a while now. He knows all you guys.
Where'd you meet him?
Just at home.
Yeah, go ahead, Seifert. You can lead this inquiry.
I'm happy to ask some questions too. You know what? All right, so how long has Mose been around? Has he been around for as long as you've been around, or just in recent memory?
I mean, we would have recalled, right?
Why don't ask so many questions? You're going to scare him away. I think I like him.
Yeah, don't scare me away.
Tell us, Casey. Answer the question. How long has Mose been around?
I mean, I've known
This
Mose.
is real easy because we're not asking what he is. Come on.
No, I mean I've known Mose since, I guess, shortly after the chicken.
After the giant chicken, the huge
Yeah.
The one that barreled to town. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Though I imagine Mose knew my uncle long before that.
All right, how do you figure? Because the way I see it, we've got some weird things showing up in the form of giant chickens and other giant slime things, and that one that turned into a firefox, and then you get a shadowy friend right around the same time and didn't tell any of us.
Well, I have a question. You said that Mose doesn't speak, and so how do you know that its name is Mose?
I said Mose doesn't talk much.
Stop being cagey, Casey. It ain't cute.
But it kind of is. So, as far as knowing my uncle, you remember, of course you remember, his shadow plays.
Yeah, of course. You put them on the Wanderlust half dozen times.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, puppets.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mose has been in more than one of those. But like I said, I only met them shortly after the chicken.
What makes you feel comfortable that Mose is so close to you so often? Why is this not something that you are concerned about, Casey? How do you know Mose is good?
I can attest to that. So can Ava. We actually met Mose. Yeah, when we were on the other side and the portal closed and we were looking for a plan B, Mose showed up and led us to an exit.
That sounds really helpful.
All right.
Mose is all right by me.
That's fair enough. I appreciate the character reference.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a different sort of individual, but he helped you all out. So, as long as you're all right with him shadowing you so strongly, why is he stuck to you, Casey?
We're good friends, and he's a little shy.
Do we need to be worried about him moving in on, like, our shadows? Because it gets real dark here at night, and I don't want anybody creeping along uninvited, if you know what I mean.
No, Mose is fine. Nothing to worry about.
Is he around all the time?
I don't know. I'm not the boss of him.
Charlotte seems suddenly very interested in this part of the conversation.
How much is Mose privy to, do you think? Does he see you when you're, sleeping, or...
Does he know when you're awake?
Does he know if you've been bad or good?
Thank you, Chris.
We were all there together.
I mean, Mose comes and goes as they please. It's...
Have there been parts where you've been with some of us all and we haven't known Mose was there and Mose was there? Is it possible Mose may have laid eyes or whatever he has instead of eyes on some private conversations?
Oh, Mose has eyes.
There's nothing wrong with eavesdropping anyway.
Peach laughs out loud and kind of like chuckles at you.
Mose, do you want to just say hello so that they stop being paranoid. And a quick wave or something. Just
Is the thing you want me to do, or do you want?
I figured you would.
Yeah, where the Casey's shadow is spreading out from the campfire. Two eyes open up, like about where Casey's eyes should be. Then they close.
See? Fine. He's fine.
Seems very shy.
All right, hey there, Mose.
At the mention when Cypher started discussing the instance of going through the portal, Ava stopped being quite so cheerful, a little bit more withdrawn, and probably moved a little bit towards where Shalati was. Also, real quick, completely out of character, Isaac, when you took a drink of that, and Kate's asking you those questions, I was reminded of those Twix commercials about needing a second, or need a moment.
Well, yeah, it suddenly became the Spanish Inquisition up in here.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah.
It's just friendly bar chat. And also, I've got like super persuasion I never have to use, so.
We'll find an NPC at some point.
Maybe try using it on Yev sometime when you need to persuade him not to do something.
Like, if we do it anyway, though, it wouldn't work on him, I'm sure. I'm sure he'd be resistant if he just charms.
That's a little weird. I'm pretty tired. I think I'm gonna try to get some rest. And we'll talk about more stuff in the morning, I guess. Or at least for me. I'm out.
Keep trying those daggers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cypher got it straight away, so surely you can get it.
She forces a playful smile and starts to make her bed for the night.
Sometime later, when the logs or the fire cracks, embers fly upward. Shalata, you see Sandra setting up to go to sleep.
She's probably been up for a while, just staring into the fire, alternately staring into the fire and then staring off into the darkness to let her eyes adjust from the fire. She looks over at Salinger and goes over, just scoots over to him and says, "Do you remember we used to play together a lot, all three of us, on the docks?"
Yeah, of course. How could I forget?
And sometimes we would make a game of trying to run to Papa and Auntie Teza and see who would get the first catch that they brought back.
As I recall, I was always last.
Because you didn't fight dirty, I think. But and one time, after Papa was gone, you told me stories about her and what things she had done. you think you could do that again?
Yeah. He kind of furrows his brow a little and really examines her first. You would be able to tell he's concerned.
She seems to be, like, very tense about something, like holding herself together, not physically, but like all of her self is gathered tightly within her skin.
He's also known you long enough to know better than to ask. So he just, starts with another story. Remind me the nickname, the shortened version.
Mostly Tala.
Tala.
They used to call her Fish until she got eaten by a fish.
Yeah, we're not. I knew I wasn't going to throw fish out there. I couldn't remember if it was Tala or Tali, and I didn't want to get it wrong. This isn't my favorite memory, but it's one that's stuck with me. Sometimes, even if you don't like them, the stickiest memories are the best, right? I was doing one of my treasure hunts. And like y'all always did, you turned it into a contest. I just wanted to find something, but you had to find it first. You had to find something better. Or get in my way as soon as I saw something, which was your favorite strategy if memory serves. He gives her an elbow.
Well, she was better at finding things, so it fell on me to stop you.
Yeah. At least she was honest about it. And that day she had the find, didn't she? Of all places, right under our noses. Not hiding under a board or in a corner. The treasure she dug up was that big old strange looking shell. You remember what it looked like?
Yes. It was dark, but also like a rainbow. Sometimes like a raven's wing. And then I had that one bit of blue right down the middle.
Yeah.
And you said something like you started making up a story, or, well, I think I was convinced at the time that somehow you knew something about it, that you'd read about it or something, but yeah, there was some kind of story about how it was like the last. Oh, what was it? There was like an underwater kingdom or something.
Now, before you go any further, I do not make up stories. Never have, never will. I don't have a talent for it, nor the predisposition, but I did tell you facts. Well, at least recollections of other people's facts. Facts can be disputed, I suppose. At least Gilgan used to always say that with me when I brought something from a book he didn't necessarily agree with. But, yeah, Underwater Kingdom. But not just under the water. In the chasms on the bottom of the ocean floor, there are networks of caves, and that's how you find your way to it. The kind of place that too dark, too winding, too... No matter how well you see in the dark, you can't see there. And you know how I know it came from that place? Remember? The one little bit from that old story about, I never can pronounce the name of that place right. Yeah, something like that. I don't know, it's a language I don't speak. It's just symbols garbled together that I try to translate into common. That night, once we were heading back to our houses, and Tala had her prize held high, golden in front of me because she found the treasure and I didn't again, which was fine. Inside of it hummed and it glowed. Then it stopped, just for a minute, just for a moment. What'd you ever do with that thing, anyway?
She took it with her when we went on that trip with Mama. Because she thought maybe it would glow more when if we were closer to the kingdom, maybe it would show the way. I don't know what happened to it after that.
Shame. Losing things like that. It was pretty. You doing all right? I mean, all things considered, like physically, you got, well, the shit beat out of you multiple times, and Doc kept magically stitching you back together. That can't feel comfortable.
They've been worse. They've been better. But Ava knows what she's about. I don't know about the rest. It's a lot.
A little off. Well, you still look a little off, he says, and he gives you a little tap on your forehead where it's still a little pale.
Do I?
Yes, a bit.
She starts to look a little concerned, but doesn't actually have a mirror. So,
It's fine. You're just a little pale is all. Could be the light. As the fire's kind of crackling down into embers and the light's fading a little anyway.
So you were pretty brave out there too, I think. When I left and I looked back, all of a sudden you had taken my place. Seen the face of the that thing, and with all the sharks around.
Yeah, it seemed the only sensible thing to do since I unintentionally took my sweet time joining in as y'all got bit up, slapped up, and whatever that weird wailing was that big old thing did in our heads. My ears are still, not my ears, but what my ears understand as sound is still ringing. Does that make sense?
That was the worst. Somehow, I don't know why, but when I am in the middle of it, just the cuts and the biting and the clawing does not hurt as much as it should, I feel like, but that sound and whatever it did in my head, that hurt a lot.
Yeah, worse than any punch to the jaw I've ever seen. And I've seen you pack a mean wallop or two.
Did you also see toward the end when it left? It said a lot of gurgly things I didn't understand, but Esmond and Casey said it was talking. And then there was images in my head. Did you see Tala as well? Did you feel that thing?
I wasn't gonna bring it up unless you wanted to, but yeah. We saw flashes. I saw her. Just for
everybody?
I haven't asked. Asking what people see in their own mind feels rather personal. Even if it is given to you by something else or whatever the hell it did.
Do you think that's what... It was my mother that killed its mate? Because I did not think of it for a long time, but just now it occurred to me that if knew somehow about Tala, and I don't know if that was because it somehow got into my head or because it already knew about her. I don't know if it was coincidence that it showed that at the same time as I was thinking about its mate, or what.
It's hard to say. Monster like that gets in your head, could pull stuff out, put fake things in. Might just be pulling random thoughts and throwing them around to mess with us. But I'll tell you this. I do
That's
kind of hope your
anger.
mama got a payback.
I think she's not a liar, although she is a she was I don't know. It's been years since I've seen her. She is not a tale teller. No, wait. She is not a liar, even if she is a bit of a tale teller. Hang on, I got that mixed up.
I know what you meant. You think you'll ever see her again? World upside down as it is. Anybody that went missing, anyone we don't know for
Honestly,
sure is gone.
if anyone is able to make it out of the world being crazy and monsters going everywhere, it would probably be her. If she did, in fact, take down something as big as that thing by herself. I don't know, maybe she found friends along the way.
Yeah, probably. I wonder that about my papa sometime. I'll run into him again.
I cannot tell you that we will, but I hope so.
And, yeah, me too.
I like your papa. He's a very nice man. Hopefully our fathers are both keeping each other out of trouble up by the tower.
I wish I could be there with him. Then he does start to wander off after that. He's looking a little bit of the far off gaze, like he's not in the moment anymore.
Charlie is quiet for a while, and then she gets up and basically pokes at the fire for a little bit, sets up some stuff for breakfast tomorrow morning to cook overnight, and lays down and starts to snore gently.
There is barely a hint of strange light on the horizon when Peach wakes up the next morning. You hear a bit of a weird scrounging sound, but you realize most of the others are asleep. You see what seems to be, as you rouse, is that a pot-bellied pig? It's small enough to fit in two hands. Black as ink. You see it's kind of sniffing around the fire. Then as you move, it looks over to you and jumps into Casey's shadow. Let's go. But you see that in the same moment, you see that Araya is starting to wake up.
Morning. Trying to figure out how to get Keen going over an open fire. I don't think I've done this before.
I think that would help all of us after yesterday. Let me help you with the fire, and you handle the Hakim. Maybe yeah, I can help. Indulgent Hakim.
Imagine Peach has something similar to a French press that she could use hot water to make coffee with.
You're glamping.
I mean, she's got this big bag of holding that she didn't... I mean, I didn't even end up using it. The safe had enough baskets that we didn't need anything. I've got plenty of crap in here. Pulls out.
No, I wouldn't call this crap. It's looking after others. It's very nice of you to bring it along. Thoughtful.
Well,
She,
I know
like,
I
starts
get to
tending
cook
the fire.
headaches, right? So I figure a little bit of hacking in the morning and throughout the day might help her keep on an even keel. And I know that light and stuff, when you get a bad headache, that can sometimes really bother you, and she's so sensitive to that now.
Yeah. But
How
I
are
think,
you?
well, I think that the benefits certainly outweigh the headache, right? I mean, we've all kind of changed a bit, but for the better.
I don't know. How are you doing with your
Excellent.
clearly cursed item?
Out of character. Did I get to be invisible for even a minute?
You guys never ended up doing.
We didn't do shit. Cool. Well, I thought it was going to be really useful. You know, going undetected with a fish, and you know, I feel that cursed, sure, but if we can make the most of it, then it's worth bearing.
All right, I understand that and all, but is it doing anything bad to you? Like, you know, Amy gets those headaches, and Kibeth seems like she's eating enough for an army every time she stops moving, and I feel like, you know, I'm not incredibly intelligent. You know, it feels like I'm about a -1 there, but I can put 2 and 2 together, and I'm worried. Are you all right?
I am. I just don't have as much opportunity to use my ring as I thought I. Skullduggery isn't necessarily my strong suit, but.
But is there a negative part to it? Does it hurt you to use it? Like it seems to.
Well, when I was parted from it, I couldn't stay conscious, and between you and me, Peach, I keep finding other people's things turning up in my bags. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
honestly.
I mean, girl, it could be anything. I mean, for a while, Ez had that, you know, his little bird fellow, and he is just magic. Now he's gone, and I swear I saw like some kind of shadow pig like 5 minutes ago. Things is weird. We fought iron occuses. We tried to push a giant magic whale through a magic whale hole. I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
Me? Well, no, I'm surprised every single day, to be honest. But I think that the world is more magical than we gave it credit for. Good and bad.
That's all well and good. So, what all do you think is responsible for these objects, though? Do you think it's like...
Well, the Duragar.
What?
The Dur...
Oh, no, I meant for the objects that are turning up in your possession.
Oh! I haven't any idea. I've been doing my best, actually, at night, trying to return them if I know who that they belong to. Although every now and then I end up with things that seem, well, generic. So if you're low on candles, it's my fault. I've got candles. I've just been putting more snacks, if they show up, into Kibeth's bags. I figure they're probably Kibeth snacks.
Araya, girl. I asked you, is there any weird thing that is happening to you?
That's not that weird.
I mean, I know it's not that weird, but you didn't think, oh, things have been turning up at random in my stuff, and I never thought to mention it because I secretly re-pickpocket it back to everybody's gear?
How
That's a
loud
weird
is
thing.
How loud is Peach being about this?
Peach is being loud enough.
Please.
It's morning. You can all wake up.
No, it's such a small thing, and everybody has plenty
Nothing
of stress
is a
on their
small
plate.
thing. No, nothing is a small thing. Nothing is a small thing. The compasses being wrong was a thing. It's all connected. I don't know how, but you gotta tell us all. Everybody needs to stop keeping secrets.
Oh, Peach, do you think really small portals are appearing in people's bags and then opening up in my bag? Do you think this is...
I think it's more likely that whatever that adorable little shadow pig thing that I think is somehow also Casey's eyes sometimes. Maybe that's taking some things and putting them places. I don't know.
Don't blame Casey's
Maybe
still sleeping. Don't blame Mose. Don't blame Mose for
Maybe it's another different type of dinosaur. I don't know. Could be anything.
Tiny, dexterous, small dinosaur. Well, I mean, I'll keep a better lookout. It's just...
I mean, should you maybe just
I was blaming my tail. I mean,
Wait, does your tail act independently, Evie? Araya!
thoughtlessly. It's a tail. It can't do too much. It's in, radius of my body. I learned radius from Esmond when I was having to measure things.
Did you learn prehensile from Esmond? Can your tail hold things like you
You
can
saw
hold
it.
it with a
You
hand?
fought it with the dagger. I mean, it can't like
Araya, your butt is
Just-
stealing things from people. It's your butt.
Charlotte
It's your tail.
Charlotte is not very surreptitiously, in fact, quite openly opening her bag and taking things out and like checking all of her belongings.
Like it is nothing. It's that thing. It stole a sword and it's been stealing since then.
But unbeknownst to me, and I've been
that's
returning
weird.
things unbeknownst to everyone else.
You should have beknownst us.
I think it's good of you to reverse pickpocket all the things your tail definitely stole. Cypher's like eyes are still closed. She fell asleep with her fur still wet, so she has like a sick cowlick up her face.
That happens to my dog. It's like
I swear, if people were just more honest about the things they know how to do and what all then maybe we could figure things out better. We're all keeping secrets from each other and we're not going to get anywhere.
I was trying meditation as a means of finding a better center, and
you could have told us in the meantime. We are all your friends. We've seen you at the spa. We've seen you at death's door. Like,
I
tell us.
didn't really. I mean, so it wasn't until it was identifiable objects that I understood that there was a thieving happening in the first place. I just assumed I'd have another candle or this oil. Casey gave me oil a while ago. It's probably just I misplaced it. Things eat a lot of my mind, so it makes sense that I'd forget about things. When never mind. Just identifiable things that I realized that this wasn't mine.
Nah, it's fine. Just
And it's
maybe give everyone else a heads up to like check.
Look for the things that I'm stealing without meaning to.
No, but I mean, if we all know, then we can be like, "Hey, Araya, did you take Hey, Araya, do you think your tail may have taken a thing?"
Hey, Araya, do you have maybe one too many forks?
Right.
5 too many forks.
How many forks do you have?
I
the
put
Wanderlust
them all
is
back
missing
before.
so many forks.
I put them all back. They're in your drawer.
I swear, we still have that bed missing too.
Okay, but let's be clear. That bed is wildly out of my league.
Araya,
For now.
We are not like the Sisters of the Temple. I don't think we will get mad at you for things that are out of your control.
But if you don't notice anything's at all wrong, and I set it to rights before anything is noticed to be wrong, then it's a moot point.
Yeah, but let us know to look out for it. Yikes.
Casey sits up still groggily. Are you finally telling people about your tail? Freaking awesome that.
No, I mean, they always knew that there was a tail.
One time I ate 2 pies at the fair. They said you could only have 1 pie, but I ate 2 of them.
Were they good?
They were so good. It was better because I wasn't supposed to have it.
That actually makes things taste worse for me.
Really?
Yeah, guilt.
Bragging.
You should probably take Araya's example, Yavetzik.
Just give it back.
Maybe not to that degree.
Yeah. Or bake pies the next year to help with your yearly deficit.
We're fine. We don't need you to help bake pies.
Oh, yeah. You can carry flour bags.
He can help clean up the pies.
Ooh, with his mouth.
What, do you have pies?
No, but once things are back to normal, still serve food and stuff at the Wanderlust. Got to think about sometime in the future, right?
They got the best hot pies.
I know, right?
Let's go running, Yev.
Oh, okay.
It's good to take off on her morning exercises.
Before she takes off, it, like runs after and grabs her and hauls her back for a second.
Oh, Ivashka, do you want to join us today?
No, I'm not going to join you. Sit down. Hold on. And she's going to give her a quick look over if she's looking still a little pale. If she still has anything out of character, if she has anything afflicting her, she repeats the process that she did with the tuning fork, but makes Shalati sit and sort of does about the same process, but spins it around her whole head and takes a little bit longer, and once again uses the same thing, if she looks like she needs it. Okay. All right, now go run. It's too early for this.
Is the restoration per day 24-hour thing or a long rest thing?
When you finish your long rest.
She was looking a little bit peaky before, and then when Ava did her thing, she takes a deep breath and smiles a little, and so like her visage is more or less back to normal. There's still some bruising and whatnot from the battle yesterday, but it's looking much better now.
Okay, perfect.
Depending on how perceptive Doc or Shalati are, you would probably notice whenever Doc checks out Shalati both yesterday and today, Casey is kind of nearby, sort of paying attention. But yeah.
Noted. Okay, well, when they get back, I guess we should finish up and get this stuff back to town. And maybe we should do an inventory now, just to make sure that, when we arrive, we have everything, or I guess we could just check Araya's pockets when we get back to town.
Ava!
Joking.
She's like notably sitting on her tail.
Alright. You guys pack up and moving on?
Yeah.
We need more seaweed.
We need more. We already have baskets and baskets full.
Assuming, I don't know where we're gonna skip to, or if this is the time to do it, but on the way back to, on the trip back from the camp towards town, occasionally, Ava sort of drops off to the side, a little back from people, and she's occasionally flinging her wrist downward in the same motion that Seyfried was and Casey did, trying to manifest something, just sort of surreptitiously.
Casey is probably hanging out with Esmond on this trip back, and I imagine Esmond is deep in thought while Casey recounts cool moments from the battle to him. And as they go by, Casey says, You got this, Doc. Come on. You have to want it. You have to want the knife more than anything. And then they continue forward as Casey jumps back into the story.
Her face turns just a little red when she does that, and she stops for a little while, and when he stops paying attention, she tries again.
Parcel Officer Simon stands in front of an old, burned-out house in Shepherd's End. He reaches up and takes his hat off, slowly looking amongst the dilapidation. Gently sighs, turns, heads down the street, parcel in hand. Ash and Sasha sit by the riverside. Ash moves her hand just a bit closer. Sasha moves her hand just a bit closer. verdict Vithedrian grasps a large log that had been harvested from the saltwood. And the gears on his arm spin and wind. He lifts it up to some waiting dock workers, and they hoist it up. There's the sound of sawing and hammering as they work on the exterior wall. There are bunnies and satyrs who dart through the streets. There's the sound of metal on metal, and then the clattering of nails into a bucket as Meraldine, blacksmith, approaches the wall construction's happening. This is the last of the scrap iron. I sure hope they found something. There's nothing else. The sun is high in the sky when your group begins to appear over the horizon, approaching the town of Shepherd's End. And dock worker, you see them all up on the wall, waving towards you. Before too long, you've crossed the fields and over the hills, returned to the eastern gate, and there's the sound of gears and cranking as it opens up. They let you back inside. You see eager eyes turn to you as you bring in the haul of things you recovered from the wreckage of the Night Flower. Sleds with big crates and barrels and fresh steel ingots. You see verdict Vithedrian looking down from where they're working on the wall. There's a slow nod.
AC, having looked up at him, looks back down to Esmond, kind of shakes his head a little bit, and is like, where was he during all this? Continues forward.
Alright, so you guys have returned to town. What do you want to do? And I know I put it in the item log, but let me do a rereading of what stuff you guys found. In the hidden compartment in the ship, Kabeth found the refracting sunstone, the item that Esmond needs in order to potentially build the lightning dynamite, the device that'll close portals or potentially make them bigger, depending on what you want to do. Introducing kind of a new currency concept to the game, since there's not like an economy where you're going to go to the next town and spend gold pieces to buy a thing. I'm going to give you kind of miscellaneous materials in the form of like GP value. So in this case, your haul from the ships is 7,200 GP worth of materials that can be used for spell reagents or crafting any of the non-specific like crafting requirements. But anything that's like, I need a 300 gold piece diamond, you can use that to sort of convert into these sort of things, right? In addition to that, you found some crafting materials. 600 saber-toothed shark teeth that are a magical common. They can be used for crafting arrowheads and small ammunition, stuff like that. You found 6 saber-toothed shark fangs that can be that are uncommon magical and can be used to make slashing or piercing weapons. You found a few deep lurker scales, 20 pounds worth, that are rare magical and can be used for armor as up to heavy armor. You also found 300 pounds of saber-toothed shark skin It's common magical and will make up to medium armor. So again, like any spell reagents you guys might need, stuff like that, the only catch is the maximum item value for a single item is 999 gold pieces. So anything that's 1,000 or more, you cannot find kind of through this method. You have to actually find it.
So much for this. I keep forgetting the name.
Spyglass?
No spy
Spyglass.
glasses. No crates of spyglasses.
But no, we're all gonna get matching sets of shark armor.
Do we have a couple years for Quebec to build that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how many crafters do we actually have? Like
Two
Right.
blacksmith.
It's just Quebec and Espen making clothes.
Well, you have, so Seyfried's family, they've got some crafters for grass and woven sort of things. You have Kabeth and Meraldine, who are both potential blacksmiths.
Competing blacksmiths.
Completely blacksmith. You have a couple of people in the town that are potentially good at alchemy. Lily, Ava's sister, is an accomplished herbalist.
Is it all weapons and armor, or does that also apply to items, magical items?
For which part?
So like the I guess maybe like the scales and skin and stuff like that. All the stuff that we found can basically be translated into weapons and armor, but not items when it comes to like things that can be converted into.
It depends on what you're trying to make. So, like for the example with these things, the requirements that it could make, but if you want to make an item that does, if you want to make some kind of other item that's not a weapon or armor, I'll tell you kind of what you need to make it. And more than likely, the majority of it will be covered by the basic material currency, but there might be a special thing. For example, to make the lightning dynamite device, Esmond needed the refracting sunstone, so it's a specific kind of item bounty kind of thing.
Okay, so like the miscellaneous materials, because it makes sense that like a shark fang can be made into a magical uncommon, like bladed weapon. But I'm talking about like a ring or a necklace or something like that that's magical.
Yeah, you just kind of gotta
ring, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you just kind of give me an idea of what you kind of want to try to make, and I'll tell you what you might need. Or if you guys find something interesting just out in the wild, you can also potentially use that as the impetus to make a magic item from it. But in this particular case, yeah.
Can we make a magical boat with those bones that were marked as structural?
Potentially.
Can we make a giant mechanical shark?
I'll let you try.
A clockwork
Magical
shark made
submarine.
out of shark bones.
I'll let you try.
Yes.
Try anything you want.
A submarine, but in the style of a clockwork shark.
Painted yellow.
Esmond leaves.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's getting ready he's starting on it.
Excellent plan.
He got so excited. He was like, "Yeah, this is what I'm dedicating my life to." So, if I remember right, Esmond will take at least 20 days if he works on it completely by himself for the device that needs to open and close the portal. And so, if we want to do that right away, we would just basically have to hang out around camp for about 20 days or so, or however long it takes, if we wanted to do that immediately.
By round camp, do you mean back at town?
Yeah, back at town.
Yeah, I don't want to say you guys are like.
AFK for a few minutes.
I don't want to say you guys are like in the town phase of the game, but it's not that specific. But we're kind of loose right now. You guys can maybe out of character or in character in scenes, kind of discuss how you want to handle things, because you have some things you're interested in. You have some things you want to craft. You have some things that I think like Esmond pretty strongly wants to make that device, right? And so, if you want to talk to the Fedrian, or you guys want to meet in the Wanderlust and discuss what to do, and the kind of that early parts of returning, you guys can kind of go through that. And at some point, we'll skip some time depending on what you choose.
Do you guys want to do the Wanderlust? Or just talk?
Might as well talk in a comfortable space.
Okay.
Yeah, a backdrop always helps.
Did you heal Kabeth yet?
Yeah, she's fine. I gave her a prescription for 8 hours of sleep, and she's fine.
Yeah, you guys camped. You had a nice night at camp. You had some hakim and some snacks. You ate a muffin earlier?
Only one?
Yeah, well, you're down to one. You ate the other ones.
Okay. So I guess if we're back at the Wanderlust, just there, getting ready to...
It's my house.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I'll just start. Fuck it. So, Esmond said it would take him about 20 days if he works on something by himself, but I think I can help him with some parts of it, and I can probably work with Lily to make some, develop some potions to heal people that can be, would be good to have around town and to take with us. So if we want to it would take time, but would you guys be okay waiting, if we waited 24 days or something like that, and just let Esmond develop the stuff, and then I really kind of want that shield. I felt pretty vulnerable the whole time we were fighting.
How much time do we have? Doesn't Vithedrin have a timeline on that necromancer he's hunting? We don't have all season. I thought we had a matter of days, not weeks.
I think he'll be ready to go in about 10 days or less. So it would be an extra week and a half for him to stay around camp. But yeah, we definitely, may want to do that before then, but there's no way. I don't think we want to go out without Esmond. He would have to stay behind if he's going to work on that device.
Also, Esmond made a promise to that creature. We can't just abandon a seaside town without following through.
I'm not suggesting we not do it. I'm suggesting just that we check on other timelines too, so we know if there's some others of us who might not be as good at the construction aspect might be able to still help in other ways. I think we should check with the Fedrin to just double check on that timeline, unless you all are sure of it. I don't remember.
I think perhaps even if he is not able to really go full himself, perhaps if he tells us a little bit about where he was looking, those of us who cannot really help with the making the thing can go scout that area or something, see if we can find any clues.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Shalati. I agree with it too. I know we can't really take serious action, but I feel awful waiting around for 20 days just doing nothing.
You don't have to do nothing. You
serving coffee.
You could always help me in the work shed. I can teach you some. If you want to learn some blacksmithing, you can lift a hammer, right? Hold things and hit hot metal with other metal, and it makes a nice noise. And you could do that.
Yeah, I'll help you if you need help.
We could also always maybe go find those other supplies that might be at that tower on the way. It was, a week worth travel?
That's
If
true.
we go there and come back.
But I don't think Esmond would want to, miss out on going.
Yeah, and I have a lot of work to do too, but I don't want you guys to go without me either, because, I mean, who's gonna help by getting eaten by things and surviving for a long period of time?
There are also still a few unresolved things here in town, like that, showing up that hole, fixing up the walls, checking out the mines beyond just what we saw. I mean, there are things here to do during 20 days just to make sure that when we are gone, as we do leave more frequently, that things are safer.
Maybe there will be time for me to go to the temple and check on the people there and see if we can collect those wild sheep, the wild llamas.
How does one tame a wild llama?
Usually with a lot of rope and cussing.
Yeah, heck, I read Savagery when I was 14. That's just well, it's wild now. But at the time, I remember a docile sheep. There's something deep down in savagery that is tameable.
If that was savagery when he's tame, savagery when he's wild. Oof.
Could be interesting.
I mean, Sal, you did do that to, like, a big lizard, so, I mean, sheep should be possible too, right?
She's more than just a big lizard, Ava.
I mean, that kind of sounds like the sort of thing we can knock out in an hour and a half, though. So do you want to go tame some sheep?
I think searching the mines is not a bad plan. I mean, I would like to make sure that this town doesn't fall into a giant sinkhole when we go off doing something for a while. You know, I want to make sure it's here when we come back.
Also, with the prevalence of the amount of portals we keep running into, or rips or tears or whatever you want to call them, all we know one's been opening up in places we haven't been checking on a regular basis. What if the mountain gets all sucked up?
Should we be keeping a log of them that we find, maybe, for later, once we have the closing device?
By the mines, do you mean the ruins and the area underneath the ruins, where we found that broken bridge and saw that lizard folk?
Assuming those places are connected, yeah, I was thinking where it looks around at Ava and Araya and Kabeth. We found some stuff that had been gone for a while, but didn't make so much sense. Durga items. And then we found where you saw that lizard monster. Wouldn't expect to see there. I don't know. The appearance of things that aren't normally in places where they are makes me think portals now. That's the 2 and 2 I've been putting together.
There were the clawed feet that they saw at the forest portal. Mm-hmm. Do they look like sort of a similar size to the lizard folk that they saw in the chasm underneath the ruins?
Well, similar sized in that they're, say, medium creature-ish, but different.
Different feet.
Okay, so if we stick local and divide up into different segments, we can have some of us working on development of, like, tools and items and crafting and things like that, and then other people go and check, like, the tunnels and the walls and just sort of do extra defense sweep or look into that stuff that's all around here, so we feel, like, pretty confident. Does that make sense?
A very careful defense sweep that you run away from if you get into trouble.
Yeah, is that... Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think we're trying to block off things getting in, not going down chasing, finding trouble. Also, if there's nothing going on, it's fine. I can swing a hammer.
My roof still needs fixing, so wouldn't object to help.
Sounds less fun than hitting metal, but okay.
Listen, the roof has to get fixed before I can do the metal part. I got giant and I hit my head on the roof and I punched a hole through it, and I gotta fix that part because it kind of collapsed a little bit. It's fine. It'll be fine.
Should we check on the egg?
Hey, Beth, with your head?
The egg! We forgot about the giant egg.
I didn't forget about the giant egg. I left it.
Well, I did, and I'm
Charlotte is just gets up out of her chair and leaves at a very brisk walk.
Beth left it safe with her sisters, and she gave them very explicit instructions on how to make sure that it stayed warm enough, and she cleared all the debris off the top of it that got knocked on, and it's fine. It's fine.
Is it fine?
Did anyone actually leave to go run towards the forge?
Yes, Charlotte did.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Peach would take lead after Kibeth if Kibeth went, but if Kibeth doesn't look concerned, Peach is not concerned.
Kibeth, as soon as Charlotte left, Kibeth's gonna go after, and when you find it, it's two sides of the roof is attached to like the building, and then the rest of it's like on posts, and the outer corner has collapsed down because with a clear hole through it where Kibeth's horns and head went through the roof, and then she like freaked out and knocked it down, and it's fixable, but like it definitely needs some rebuilding, and the egg is safe and sound in the other corner.
Question: which siblings did you leave in charge?
All of them. She sat them all down and made sure they all knew what to do. Okay,
perfect. Yeah, Charlotte, you come sliding up, looking into the forge, and Sandra, I assume you're there too. And Kibeth.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that Peach would follow Kibeth quickly after if Kibeth left, and she would pull Sal along with her, like she would physically grab him if necessary.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna go fix this thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can see that the young satyrs have drawn all over the egg with crayon. It has like a little face, and it's very nicely decorated. It's got some like scarves they've been tied together and wrapped around it.
Oh, they made it pretty.
She breathes out. There's just this little sigh of relief. And then she looks around at the forge. I think this is actually the first time that she's seen it since Kibeth wrecked it. Because she was not in any of the meetings. And
I don't think anybody saw it, just so you know. It happened like right before we left.
She looks up and says, "You really did a number on this. Damn."
Well, when you unexpectedly grow in size very rapidly, sometimes you cause some incidental damage.
I mean, I've had some growth spurts, but not like that.
When you jump up to giant size, your strides are longer, right? Are you that much faster?
I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Vanya wasn't.
No, I mean, yeah, your strides get bigger, but you're also much heavier, so then it takes more effort to cover that. So you end up kind of just covering the same amount of distance. It seems like you're going to be faster, but it's just not. Do you know that you get heavier when you get bigger? It sucks.
Salty's kind of checking the egg and listening to it to see if it seems any closer to hatching. I forget how long they'd figured out it would take.
You were estimating something like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's only been 2 to 4 days, 3 days, something like that. 3 days.
So before the portal device is done, sorry, the lightning dynamite is done, it's hard for me to say that.
Oh yeah, look at that. If we wait around town, we can wait for the egg to hatch.
I don't know why the mental image of someone sitting on top of the egg the entire time as one of the duties just went into my brain, but here we are, and it's still there.
Yep, just wraps his arms around it.
Imagining this thing that the a lot of the sophomores end up doing as part of health class, where they have flour sacks that they have to treat as babies. And they very often like dress them up in scarves and little onesies and put little hats on them. And I'm imagining this egg dressed up in this way.
That's just gonna train teenagers to turn babies into bread.
Well, yeah, Massachusetts is a very liberal state, Chris.
Normal
really
in giant
took,
society.
It really took the modest proposal very seriously. I think, unless there seemed to be anything that was left unfinished or like urgent left to talk about, Shlati might just look up at the hole and then look at Kibeth and say, "Well, I guess there's no time like the present. We need this done before we can sort anything, right?"
Yeah, and I know Ava wants some armor built at least. If not, we have lots of other stuff to work with. And I mean, I'm gonna have to do some trials to see about working with these weird materials. They're not metal, but I'm sure that I can figure it out given enough time. And yeah, there's some timber in the shed around the back. I'll go get it. There's plenty of nails to choose from on all the tables that are underneath the rubble.
Peach looks up at Shalati and then up at Sal. She says, I'm going to get a pot of Hakeem going, because it looks like I might be needing a step stool in a moment, and you all seem fine to start working. And she'll kind of scurry off to Kibeth's kitchen and make herself busy there. She's trying to avoid work.
That always happens when it's time to do dishes at the end of a shift, too.
So before too long, some of you are at work repairing the damage to the smithy. Is there anything immediately pressing that anyone wants to do scene-wise, just in the first, certainly the first day of you coming back?
Just a little thing. I think after whatever whatever stint of construction they put into the repairing the forge's roof that day, whenever it's done and they're about to break for supper or etc., Shalati, goes off, unpack, etc., but she takes a detour on her own to a little house, or the remains of a little house on the edge of the harbor, not too far from the docks. It looks like it was a victim to the fires that had spread throughout town during the pudding attack sometime back now. And she stands in front of it. There's not much left of it now, just burned timbers and plaster. She hasn't actually been back here, really. Not since she first went by and saw that there wasn't anything of it left, there was just no time. But she puts a hand on the frame that used to be the door jamb and now just ends in a jagged post, and throws her hand down and finds little notches on the side that go up, and with X's and I's next to them, they are, and like a little one with a Y, or the equivalent in this kingdom's letter system. They're, for the most part, at the exact same level, but occasionally you see one that's just like a hair higher than the other. And then she clambers over into the inside of it and starts poking through, but doesn't really find much of anything. But her brows furrowed as she's trying to remember everything she can about her early life in this house, and the house that used to be a Vicaire house before they married to before her dad married Aurea Cadney and they moved to the ranch.
sound of the sea and the smell of burnt wood. Memory is just on the very edge of your recollection. Okay. So in that first day, is there anything urgent that anyone wants to do upon returning to town? Okay, doesn't sound like it. The next... Well... No, actually I'll do a scene on the first day. At some point... Yeah, Salinger, you're still working on repairing the smithy. You hear this the heavy boom, dum of Thedrian's footfalls in the alleyway and approaches that way. Salinger.
Sal leans down from the edge of the roof, recognizing the footfall in the voice.
Yeah. And the others are taking a break right now, so you're there alone.
Okay. Yeah?
What news of the expedition? Some sort of report.
Oh, we all lived. Mission accomplished. We found the sun gem. Ez is working, well, supposed to be starting to work on it now. I assume he took at least one day off. We didn't kill it. The big, monstrous, psychic fish thing. And we came back. And here we are, fixing a roof that apparently Kabeth headbutted her way through right before we left.
I see. Well, at some point once you've rested, gather the others, I'd like to hear the details of what happened. We'll be working on the wall, but you can find me at the mayor's house.
Will do. Is this like a today thing, or immediately thing, or a when we get around to it kind of thing?
When you're rested and ready, I'm sure you've had a long day. He kind of looks over the fortress a second. Walks off.
Salinger kind of mutters to himself for a minute. I don't know what it is about him. He just always sounds grumpy, he says as he hammers another nail into the wood in the roof.
The next, we'll say, the next 2 days go by in just general recovery from your battle and the travel. Which puts us, I believe, on the... which puts us on the 26th day of autumn, I believe. That sound right to you guys?
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Shalati, is there something you wanted to do?
No, that was it.
Okay, oh, I did it. Alright. Yeah. I want to put you guys back into a group together in order to make some... You guys sort of interrupted by running out of the room before. So I want to put you guys back together to decide a little bit about kind of what you're doing. you probably briefly have visited with Esmond, and he's locked himself sort of in the workshop, and he's he's working on the project in there. I mean, he's told you that he'll need a total of 20 days to build the device that could have an effect on the portals. So how you want to spend that time, or things you want to craft in that time, or we want to come to some kind of decision about that sort of stuff.
Just so you know, I probably will dip out in about 20 minutes. But you can put crafting requests in the item discussion channel for me.
Yeah, I'm actually fitting fast too. I might need to call it relatively soon. I know it's earlier than usual, but I've got to do a drive tomorrow.
It's fine. Yeah.
Do we... Alright. We have a couple of different things. One thing that we pretty much have to make. A couple of things that we might want to make during the time. And it's a toss-up between making more stuff and taking less time, I would think, because I think we can get that 20 days and reduce it a little bit, because I can have Ava help with the project a little bit. Maybe take some days off. And hopefully, Kabeth, in terms of trying to craft something, maybe you could work with the other blacksmith. I don't know if that helps. Learn a thing or two.
Her work is inferior.
Yeah, is crafting like a pregnancy, or is it more like I don't know, weaving or like making a quilt? Like, will more hands shorten the time, or no?
Oh my god! You compare that to pregnancy versus making a quilt?
It's probably
As an independent versus group project.
No, the order of the phrasing made so much of a difference there. It was fantastic. Thank you.
That was an amazing phrase. Thank you for that present.
Yeah, as long as the person has the proficiency in all of the requirements, they can contribute days. So, for example, to build a magic item, you have to be proficient in the whatever type of thing, but also be a spellcaster. And so, if it's a non-magical thing, then you just have to have the proficiency, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
So non-spellcasters explicitly cannot make magical things at all?
No.
So to help at the forge, the person also has to be proficient with smith tools?
Yes.
Can we still help badly?
You could keep company.
Purpose of flavor.
Can we add extra days with our ineptitude?
Because I'm like, yeah, Peach would help. Oh no, she's not proficient in that though. Proficient in cook's tools.
Listen, feeding Kabeth is an essential part of the crafting process. I'm just saying that is a good job.
All right, Peach will be keeping Kabeth fed.
As far as actually, on the question of helping, even if you can't help in terms of shortening any of the time, can you still do like a helping in terms of giving them advantage on a skill check to make the final thing?
No, the help action, I only allow things to be assisted in that way when it's like a single action.
Okay.
Okay. If we take the full amount of time then, and just let Kabeth focus on making one item, and Esmond working on his device. Ava can work with Lily. I could probably definitely make the formula for a potion of healing. That's the simple one. That's definitely possible. And then if we work together, we might be able to also put together the formula for a potion of greater healing. it'll just cost money. And the time spent developing the potions will not be time spent making any potions. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. For those two characters.
Just to clarify, Chris said 2 days per option, up to 3 options for is that wait for working on the shield? 6 total work days for blueprints plus the time to make stuff. So Beth could probably make more than one thing in 20 days, right? Depending on how complex the item is.
It just depends on the level of magic. So an uncommon magic item build time is 20 days. Common magic item is 10 days. Et cetera, et cetera. And then also the time it takes to make a blueprint is also dependent on the level of magic that it is.
Okay, got it.
All right. Well, does that seem at least reasonable to just say, all right, we'll craft some things. Esmond focuses on his thing. Beth focuses on her thing. I'll focus on potions, and anyone else can focus on something. We've got as much time as it takes for Beth to finish, and then we're all done. We're ready to move on to whatever we're going to do next.
Okay. Well, that will certainly occupy Esmond, Ava, and Kibeth. In terms of other people could use that time for like training or like have, some idea of what you want to do. Like you have, just as an example, like Charlotte could spend time training Yev, just so you're, if you want to do something with that time, even if it's just honestly ends up being flavor, or it might result in something, having some idea of what you want to do, what you're going to do. Just something to, I guess, think about as you guys are.
I mean, Charlotte wanted to go to the temple to collect those sheep. I don't know if that would be an on-screen thing or if it could take place as part of the montage.
Yeah, because you guys have control of both of those areas, we could do that as like, like a scene or a montage kind of thing. There's also material costs associated with some of the things you're making, so making sure that we're doing the accounting for that will be important.
Yeah, I think Charlotte would do the sheep thing, and then start to try to explore the area underneath the ruins. But I'm fine with leaving that off if that would also be like a thing that actually requires in playtime. Otherwise, I think she would just help out with repairing the forge ceiling and selling the sheep back in if she's successful, and taking up training for the various people under her wing, aka basically Yev and Ash and whoever else is doing the weapon training stuff.
Yeah, I'll say that because you guys did explore some of the area under the sinkhole, and you found it to be potentially dangerous. That's the sort of thing that that wouldn't be like an off-screen thing. That might have been like a session. But going to the temple is safe, and so we can kind of montage and do scenes through that.
I've got one more idea for a group project that maybe many people could help on. I don't know if it actually exists or we would have something like this, but could we start to either fix up or put together a simple kind of trolley car? Because if we can get that to the tracks area, the tracks go straight to that town that we're going to eventually get to. So if people help out on, I don't know, putting either fixing one up, or I guess probably building one might be out of whatever. But the idea is there, you know what I mean? Trying to make it so that travel is faster when we eventually do it. Does it make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Sounds like a lot of us are going to have to get very proficient with some things that we're not proficient with.
Yeah, we need to have like a training montage and gain some proficiencies because of it. That would be wonderful.
Well, it can definitely be the reasoning for you gaining a proficiency when you get a feat or something that would allow you to take.
Here. Yeah.
Is there no training times to allow one to gain a proficiency? Or in the tool?
Let me think about that. If you dedicate game time, like off-screen time, that's actually like crafting time, if that makes any sense, to training a proficiency. Yeah, I'll come up. I don't know the answer exactly, the details, but yeah, we could come up with something like that if you're actually putting time into it.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I feel like Peach would want to be trying to help, and as much as it would be very flippantly funny for her to be very terrible at it, she would definitely be able to learn something from Gabeth.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, I'll come up with a. Yeah, I'll give you guys an answer to that, to how that would work in terms of.
That's a montage I want to play out. Beth teaching Peach.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else pressing on the table before we take a short break and then do a bunch of montages?
Before I leave, I want to do a short vignette.
Okay.
That'll be my piece out for the night.
Cool. All right, let's do that now.
But like, no, we'll do that like when we come back and after.
Oh, after.
So yeah, we have some time. Like, I need to leave like around 10:20.
Okay, well, let's take a short.
Oh,
go
wait.
ahead, Sever.
Before we take a break, can I have like a little bit of a rundown?
Oh yeah. You guys have returned to town. You pulled the supplies into town, which you determined Esmond needs 20 days in order to work on the device. Kabeth needs 20 days in order to craft an item. And so we're sort of figuring out what you want to do with that time. It might just be flavorable. It might result in something. If you're crafting, for example, it's a good time to do that sort of thing. If you want to train a proficiency, I think we're talking about developing a system for that.
Train a proficiency, like
gain a new one.
Proficient in metalworking because I spent 20 days learning it, kind of thing.
Right. I don't have the details of how long it will take, but you can at least make progress. Things like that. And then we'll take a little break, and then we'll do montages about like how you montages through time skip.
Right. Was anything? The part I missed was like options and decision making.
It sounded like the general consensus was, because Esmond and Kabeth needed time, that you'll essentially spend that time doing things around town. Vithedrian wants you guys to come tell him what happened at some point, so that should probably be the first maybe part of the montage. And then so I'm just giving you some time during the break to think about like, oh, what do I want to montage my character through during these 20 days?
Okay, gotcha.
On my break, I'll work on some math, Chris. Helping somebody, does that cut the time? Is it like 50% basically? Like two people both working on the same thing for developing whatever?
Yeah, you're contributing man hours, so if you're working the same amount that they're working, it's, I don't know.
Okay, cool. I'll fix it, thanks.
Is Ava proficient in blacksmith tools?
No. She's not helping with that. She's tinker tools. So.
I see.
But she's not. Yeah, I know. But she's not helping Esmond. She's doing helping with her sister, with herbalism.
Okay, cool. Well, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
I'm going to listen to the montage after for a little bit, and then I'm going to go. But here's my scene. So it's the end of the day. The roof over her workshop has been fixed, and the fire in the forge is dying down. The coals are warm and warming the space. Beth comes out of the house holding a mug of something steaming in one hand and a book tucked under her arm, and she drags Araya's chair from its spot at the table over towards the egg. She kind of rubs at the egg a little bit to see if the crayon comes off. She's like, I guess that's on there. It's probably fine for it. Yeah, it's fine for you. And she kind of pats the egg and tucks the blanket around it and sits down and opens up the book. And it's like, here's one of my favorite stories from when I was a kid. And she starts reading a book of children's stories to the egg, the mug steaming at her side. And probably for another hour, she sits and reads before falling asleep. Oh, hi, Kevin. She falls asleep with her head nestled on the blanket on the egg and snores there for the rest of the night.
Nice.
Okay, I'm going to listen for a little bit, and then I'll pop out when I have to go back to actually doing stuff for my portfolio. Love you guys.
Let me do. Let's see. Let's start with anyone, if anyone, who's going to go update with Adrian on what's going on.
Ooh, it's either got to be Casey or Peach.
What?
Yeah.
Who asked to update Bethedrin? Why? He doesn't like
Lottie
me. He likes you,
probably
Ava.
would.
You're a human.
I'm busy.
Yeah,
Charlotte
Peach
would not be as interesting,
happy
but she
to do
probably
it.
would.
But she would bring along some backup. Who would come with Peach?
I wish I could. I don't have in-character knowledge. Or, sorry, out-of-character knowledge of the I'd be terrible.
No, I like the Peach salad gelati crew. It was great for talking to this guy. Sure.
I feel like hearing Jess try to summarize what happened just from the stuff that's happened in this episode would actually be amazing.
God, wait till you hear me describe it after not being here last session.
Before too long, everyone who's going, you've made your way to the mayor's house. Through the open door. You probably see some people coming and going, and you see Adrian in there. It's in the midst of the day.
Well, go on, Sal. Say hi to him. You in here, I don't know, it's hot.
Hi. That's the
It's
worst.
snowing.
It runs through the nearby streets.
With Bunny's shred of blankets.
It's tufts of fur.
Knock on the door. It's already partly open, but it's a bit more. Adrian looks up. Wow, come in.
As promised, I have brought folks to give you an update on our mission.
Thank you. The supplies you brought back are already going to good use. Workers say they'll be able to finish the wall any day now. You mentioned earlier a beast. Creature. Powers of the mind. Tell me more.
Anybody want to take the lead on that one, or
I mean, I'm happy to, Sal, but I don't want to go tromping all over anybody else's story.
Is anyone there that wants to be there?
Yeah, anyone who wants to be in the scene is there.
Well, it seemed to... We tried to sneak up on it, but it seemed to be able, even though I think that we were pretty quiet, it seemed to be able to sense that we were there. Or at least it came out almost immediately and was not fooled by any guilt. And she looks a bit disappointed by this in retrospect. So, managed to distract about half of its parasites, and then we fought it. Almost down to... I think that we were almost had it down all the way, but Esmond called out that we should stop, and then it said something in the big voice that I didn't understand, and then it also had some images that it, while it was fighting, sometimes it had these pulses it could release that was partly sound and at least partly in our heads. It gave me very bad headache. It also, I think it took some memories or something from me. I don't know. Something's gone. And I've been trying, but I cannot. I don't. Anyway, at the end, it said that some... She's starting to flounder again.
Peach comes to the assistant and says, and as we were able to get this through Esmond, he could translate what the thing was trying to say to us, and he figured that it was asking for a way through a portal of its own, and that it wasn't intended to be any kind of threat. And so we promised, or as promised, to help it get back to where it came from, and it just left.
I see. This creature was guarding its territory, but you say it wanted something. What was the nature of this creature?
Well, intelligent for sure. Because that was the baseline impression that I got. It didn't do anything mindless or senseless. First thing it did was flip one of our boats upside down, take us out of our comfortable territory and put it in his. Seemed to have some sort of control over those parasites, you called them. Saber-toothed tiger sharks seemed to... when it got hurt real bad, they all came swimming back up to help it.
It was like a squid the size of a whale. And it was super smart. And it could speak some kind of elemental language.
It was pink.
And it was pretty.
It was powerful too. It could lash out with its tail just as well as its front. It was something else.
This is speculation on my part, but with the context of one of the visions that it gave us, my guess is that this creature and its mate ended up coming through one of those tears that we've been seeing and then got stuck here. Who knows when. Its mate was killed years ago by someone in our town. And that's kind of the best that we can piece together.
I'm confused. The tear that you found in the forest, south of the town, has that always been there?
No, I think we would know if it had. I hope maybe we would know if it had.
I mean, we know for sure that there are tears that have opened up that definitely were not there before. I think Araya can confirm that the one that we found in the temple was not there beforehand. But I don't think that we know enough to say for certain that there have been no tears like this of any kind ever before, just a handful of months ago.
Let's see.
And I mean, we're also giving this to you, what, fourth hand? From the creature through Esmond to then us. It's the vibes that it was given off. It wasn't exact language, you know?
We've also seen, we went to survey the tear that it once opened for ourselves, so Esmond could take measurements of it.
And it also let us completely explore the wreck without being bothered. We were able to go there and back as many times as we needed to.
The creature seems friendly then.
At least neutral enough. Once it knew that we didn't mean it any harm and were intending to help it, it didn't seem to want to bother us.
I wouldn't call it friendly so much as we bullied it and are its only shot at escape.
I'd say it can be reasoned with if you beat it senseless first, was my takeaway.
Did we try to reason with it before anybody started hitting the thing?
Whoa, it hit us first.
It was so aggressive right out the bat. It literally sent hordes of sharks at us. We didn't try to ask it nicely to stop first. Unfortunately.
There's at least one motive. Gonna say there's at least one motivation we can discount. It doesn't seem to care about material. So whatever it did with wrecking the boat before had nothing to do with the items on it, except for maybe that stone Ez is messing with.
I think that just like any other intelligent creature, it's smart enough to be scared.
I see. So the creature attacked you, but you overpowered it in battle. It abandoned the supplies to you, but do you have any indication of why it wants to travel through the portal?
Maybe being here sucks.
It just wants to go back home.
I don't know.
We have no way to be certain, really.
Do you think the creature poses a threat to the town?
Not anymore. I feel like if we put
unlikely.
signage up and just say, be cautious, it's like any dangerous animal out there.
We aren't sending any large ships into its waters in the immediate term anyway. Isn't that right?
I guess we don't know if it can survive on land, but based on its physiology, I don't think it could. So, yeah, distance is our friend.
It seems like it might be in everyone's best interest to send it back to where it came from, and that will clear up the waters. And, I mean, problem solved, right?
Oh, yes and no. I'm hesitant on that, and I didn't speak up earlier, but we open it, it either goes home or other stuff comes through. You know?
I mean, it's a door that we will only be opening with the same mechanism that we have to close it. So if it doesn't go through, then we close it. The door is shut, the chance is gone. And then we know how to fight it.
I see what Ez is saying, though. What if it is like a door and we open it a crack and then something shoves through from the other side? What if us activating it in some way at all puts us more vulnerable? What if one of those creatures is the smallest thing that comes through that?
Did y'all ever share about the presence that basically stole what's the familiar?
Zephyrus.
We have not shared that with Vethedrian. I am 99% sure, but I think all the party members do know because we talked about it and some of us researched it for a little while. The thing they call the Angel of Doors.
Would you mind doing a quick refresher? I was not there for that part of that session, and I don't actually remember very clearly.
Out of character here.
Yeah, thank you. Out of character. What happened to Zephyrus? Could I get a reminder?
Yeah, the so the Angel of Doors is basically this like massive, like hideously radiant creature that Ava and Seyfried encountered when they were on the other side, where there was a tiny like sliver of an opening that it hadn't created, and it came and it shut it. But before it shut it, Esmond sent Zephyrus through because Zephyrus was small enough, and Zephyrus encountered the Angel of Doors and was not able to come back. And then subsequently, Esmond has tried to resummon Zephyrus, and it has not worked. He had a vision of the Angel of Doors, and he has since like lost the spell. Like all sorts of like funky shit happening with this and Zephyrus.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for explaining it. I appreciate it.
Okay, back in character.
Yeah, I remember exactly what happened with Zephyrus and all that.
What happened with Zephyrus?
Oh, I don't think Charlotte brought that up in character. I was just wondering how much she would have known about it out of character.
Okay, cool.
I don't think that we should take our ultimately collective promise lightly. I think that we should endeavor to keep our word with this big, intelligent being.
I agree wholeheartedly. However, I'd like to be certain we know how to both open and close a door before we finish said deal.
Perhaps we can find another one.
One that's safer. Maybe one the Arnakis came through, test it there first.
Yeah, the one in the woods.
Speaking of which, there have been fewer sightings of Ornakis near town, and less frequent, so I think it's safe to say that the clearing of the Ornakis nest has done well to make the nearby woods safer. Using that portal as a test for Esmond's device would be a good idea.
Agreed. I also think it's important to get the portal gun in working order and resolve this situation with the creature that we encountered before we leave for who knows how long.
There are those creatures that came through, other creatures that came through the portal. The one that has some kind of clawed feet that were not Oronoxus. We don't know where they are or if they went back.
We also haven't done anything with the portal that the priestesses may have gone through.
Have you experienced anything regarding the portal in the temple that may be a threat?
Did we all? Is it common knowledge that Casey used Lux code, like flashing a signal through the portal and got a response?
I believe Casey has openly talked about how there's friends on the other side.
I don't know if we haven't explored it enough or observed it enough to identify any obvious dangers other than that it is a desert, but Casey did communicate with someone via Lux code and received a response.
That would mean there's someone from our side of the portal that's made their way through. Priestesses.
I would assume so.
Can I ask you something, Adrian? Just,
of course.
The kind of stuff we're describing, the kind of stuff we run into through these portals, have you ever seen anything like that Deep Lurker or like the Aranakis before? I mean, you've got experience, you've got training, time.
The creature you've described in the water, I've not seen nor have I heard account of before. Creatures like the Ornakas are not unlike things in the archives of creatures that roam the forest before, but different, certainly. I think at this point it's safe to say that these portals represent the introduction of things strange from other places into our land. It seems to be in our best interest to close as many of them as we can if we wish to secure this area and protect our land.
Agreed.
How long will we be gone if we go with you?
There's no way to predict. The necromancer was reported very shortly before my arrival in Muirwood. However, indications that they had passed through weeks, if not a month before. The necromancer certainly has a head start in wherever it's going, wherever it's doing. And my time in recovery here has been more than 6 months. The necromancer has quite a head start. I'm remiss to imagine what damage might already be done. We cannot be careless, but we also don't have time to waste.
Well, a couple weeks and we'll have he rolls his eyes pretty heavily. Lightning dynamite is the name we've coined for it.
I see.
Have we?
All right. It looks like it'll still take some time, but nothing in excess. So.
We do want to be prepared. Let's not linger too long.
This lightning dynamite will be super handy before we go. Let's hope it works.
Are we leaving the meeting? Can I do a thing as we leave?
Yeah, if you guys are ready to.
Or I can just lean to Cypher and Shalada. I just didn't want Bethedrian to hear it.
Do you do it now or do you wait?
I would rather wait till we're outside.
Okay. Yeah, Bethedrian will say, well, continue to rest, prepare for travel, let's be mindful of this creature. It's possible that its motivations to open that portal are not what it claimed to you. If possible, I'd like to go with you. We need to confront the creature next.
I don't see why not.
Take all the help we can get.
Yeah, get some rest. You've earned it. Everyone's very happy for what you've returned here. Well done. Thank you.
See ya.
All right. Just as we're outside the door. So I'm as confident as the next of us, any of you really, in this lightning dynamite being successful. But there's this one time Ez made me a music box as a gift to my dad, and every third or fourth time you play the thing, it speeds up to it's just atrocious sounding. So we definitely need to test it more than one time. Again, all confidence in Ez. But
So we should test it 4 times?
yes.
All right. Then we need more portals to test it on. Where are we going to find those?
Well, if it
there's
opens
tiny
and close it.
portals being opened in our bags, like Peach suggested.
We should be careful of where we open one. Obviously.
We could also just open and close the same one 4 times, maybe. Though I don't. We'll know whether or not it's permanent, right? Like, is there a little fragment left, or
I guess after it's made, what if we opened one, closed it, before we run around and try dealing with anything else? And then hopefully that's enough time to see if it opens again.
I like it.
Did that one get closed not by us? Does that mean all the ones that are open were made by something else?
Sal looks up at the sky. Maybe there's some destabilizing force that's making a whole lot of messes. Or maybe there's something deliberate behind them. Hard to say.
Maybe the entity that Ava and I saw is the one opening them and had a problem with the one that it didn't open.
So if we're making portals and had a problem with one it didn't create, what's to say that we won't just be summoning this thing that is angry and powerful?
I think we should assume that it would be.
You know, one of the things I appreciate about you, your ability to always imagine the absolute worst case scenario. Some people find that frightening, but it's very, very useful in these times.
It's something you have to practice, I think. I suppose now is as good that we have a lot of chances to practice it now. And then she looks over at Cypher and says, "So, you saw those images too, then?" In their head.
Oh, yes. You mean, yes, from the thing of your mom, your sister, its mate. Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think maybe we all saw glimpses of it. I didn't want to say anything to Visage because I didn't know if you wanted to share any of that. How much you wanted him to know about what it was able to see in you or take from you.
I don't know if it was able to see or take from me, so... Anyway.
Yeah. I'll be happy to be rid of it. The creature, that is. Let's figure out how to send it home. Seyfried looks uncomfortable for a moment, but is lingering to see if any more conversation seems imminent.
I think Shalati looks at Peach and says, "Well, I guess the forge roof is done, and Kibeth seems ready to get into the swing of things. I think I might start packing up for the trip to the temple and try and find some wayward flocks."
Yeah, if that's where you all feel most comfortable, then absolutely I'll help you all pack up what you need and send you off with enough supplies for the trip at least.
We're not going to the tower without Esmond, right?
No, Shalati and her family are just going to set up at the temple and take care of the llamas.
Or bring them back. Haven't quite decided yet, but...
Oh, I see. The temple. I thought that you were talking about the tower for a second.
No, sorry. Sometimes my accent makes things hard to hear.
In Sylvan, Cypher says a phrase akin to "C'est la vie."
I think actually that changed because she does not know a bunch of languages anymore. So.
Oh no.
Oh no! Chris, they're bonding. It's all a lie.
That's what the deep lurker took.
The Sylvan language.
Oh my god, Cypher speaks in Sylvan and Shalati doesn't understand it for the first time.
Oh my god, that would be horrifying.
That would actually be hilarious.
Canon, I love it.
Shalati just looks blank and says, well, I guess I'll go back.
I've got to call it a night, folks. I'll see y'all next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Smiles. Did we just lose before Kate left? Did someone else? We lose?
Allie, I think, just dropped.
Allie and Kevin.
Okay. I'm just blind to what icons are actually there.
Yeah, very brief, sneaky Kevin.
All right. Let's do some time skip montage in.
I think I'm going to head out in like 15 minutes as well.
Then you should go first.
Oh no, Chris, she's not going to make it all 15 minutes with this music.
Oh no, what have I done? The strangely colored sunrise comes and goes, as does the setting of the sun. The sound of hammer, familiar feet, running children in the streets. Many days pass between now and when your preparations are complete. Give me a little vignette of how your characters are spend that time, little scenes and glimpses into their days, what they're working on.
I think Shalati has roasted Yevitsek and Ash. And with the two of them, she, leaving behind Amaro and Aster, she travels to the temple. Actually relatively easy at this point, 2 days journey, despite the snow, with the... They're probably starting to get tired of salted Aranakis turkey, but they have a lot of it. And touch base with the villagers of Shepherd's End who relocated there. She does actually probably think to ask Araya if she wants to go as well to check on the temple. And yeah, so if Araya comes along, then I guess it'll be the 4 of them. And she leaves Araya to do any rituals or whatnot, but because the first thing that she does is go to find the reported flock of sheep and llamas, and basically just tries to rope them. She brought along lots of ropes and nets, and we'll basically just try to pen them together. And does she still have the 2 dogs?
Not after the chicken day.
Oh, okay. She sort of feels the loss of them, like she instinctively starts to whistle, and then realizes, and Yevasek, actually it'd be really funny if Yevasek started responding to that, but and then feels a momentary pang as she realizes there's no dogs there to respond to it, but the 3 of them spread out and try to corral and herd the animals together to better catch them.
Yeah. They're on the help the top of the hill that fades into all of the farmlands adjacent to the temple. You have Ash and Shalati spread out with ropes in hand as the herd of wild llama graze and lift their heads and look in that direction. And Savagery and Deathmaker peek their heads up, step forward. We'll actually just like fade out of that and do results later.
I wanted to do 2 quick things related to magic. If I can do the first one with Pris, just so she doesn't leave. At some point, I don't know when your character gets back, if it's towards the end of the 20 days or before then, but once she is back, Ava comes up to her, like, super excited. She's like, hey, she grabs her hand. It's like, oh my God, and just pulls her aside. And it's like, hey, okay, so I gotta show you something. I've been working on this thing. I've gotten so many different ideas, like, for things that I can do, and okay, so, like, and she's, like, leading her into, let's say, I don't know, more of an open area of the town, like a grassy plain area. She's like, okay, so I didn't want to, like, I was trying to help and figure out, like, the same thing that Esmond, like, does for his familiar, I guess. So I was trying to, like, recreate it, and I think I got pretty close, but it's not quite the same. And she's going to show a couple of different spells, one of which, out of character, just is basically like a find familiar, but it doesn't last quite as long. So when she does it, an owl pops, and it's one of those big, it would basically be a snow owl in terms of its shape, but its feather and coloring looks like a variation of what Seyfried's coat probably looks like, actually. And it has a nice, pleasant smile on its face, like the contented owl look. And she's like, yeah.
Wow.
Right? Yes, I know. So, like, it's not, again, it's, like, not exactly the same, but he's, like, can do a lot of, like, the same things, and so I think I might be getting close. I don't know if it'll help him or
Nice.
not.
Can you see through his eyes too?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's a little weird, but she, like, closes her eyes, and she goes, I don't have to close my eyes, but, like, it's weird to not close my eyes, but okay. And then the owl kind of, like, takes off from her shoulder, starts to fly up in the air. She's like, it's always, she, like, takes a step back. That's always a little disorienting, actually.
Please don't get sick.
She sort of grins. Oh, wow.
I have a bag if you need somewhere to throw up. But she's looking up at the owl and, like, waves at it.
Yeah, it just sort of circles around a little bit. And when she, like, blinks a little bit and sort of shakes her head as it continues to fly around, and obviously her eyes and vision have come back. And she goes, and I figured out how to do a little bit more. And then I'll do another spell, but I won't show it at this time. I'll do it some other time. And that's it. That's what I wanted to do with Pris.
She'll say something and be like, you know what you can do with this? You can use this. If it's an owl and you can see through its eyes, that means you can see at night. Well, you see at night anyway, but then you can use it to spy on certain people to make sure they're not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. Or maybe you could have it keep a watch on Aurea's butt so that if her tail does anything, we can know for sure.
Yeah, she laughs at the prospect of that, and the owl continues to hover about. I haven't named him yet, but I've got some ideas. That's it.
Horatius? Eltronon?
I was thinking, Mr. Who.
Owl? Maybe?
No, he says who a lot. I like that.
You did not, well, between... Wait, what's the shrubbery's name? Wesley?
Oh fuck, why am I blanking?
Winslow.
Yeah, thank you, Winslow.
Between Winslow and who? I suppose it's a good thing you did not name yourself.
What's that supposed to mean?
Salty grins. And then chucks the owl under the chin.
And keeps smiling. That's it.
Nice. Who wants to
think
go
it's
next?
At some, and this is just going to be the beginning of it because I don't know, actually, it might take some time, and I do not have the time, unfortunately. At some point after this, after her return, she slips out, probably during the night, pack over shoulder, pretty geared up, just kind of walks out, tries to make her way around, I think, or tries to avoid as many eyes as possible, but she's not, like, darting from shadow to shadow, and she does wave at the people, and at the people guarding the gates, and standing on the walls, and, there's a note left on the pillow of the area that she usually stays in the Wanderlust. I was kind of wandering in. Wait, no. At the Wanderlust, this says, I'll be back in a few days. Don't worry.
Who would like to go next?
Chris, you're very lucky that Kate already dropped off, because otherwise you would not be able to leave. Having said that, that scene would go on. I think Peach would want to know some detail. Does anyone else have one? I have one more to do with style. All right. It's more or less the same sort of setup. She excited, but earlier in time, maybe a few days, a week into it, she excitedly finds Sal during the day and sets up some time for them to do a fight, sparring, and yeah. And when she brings him out there, she's gonna be like, okay, so I'm not actually here to spar this time, but I was working on something and I think I got it right. And you know how Quebec got really big? Well, I was trying to figure out how that happens and how she did that, and I think I got it. So, and she's gonna say, hey, just all right, stay there. I'm sure this will work. I'm pretty sure this will work.
Hold up, this isn't gonna rip my clothes or anything, he says as you start to go.
No. And she casts the spell enlarge. And so becomes a substantially bigger portion of himself.
Sandra bursts to the top of Quebec's forge.
Why did we do this here?
Yeah. So she takes the time to just spar in the faintest of ways with this massive version of Sal for him to become a little more acclimated to whatever's going on and get used to it and describe to her what it is, because this is the first time she's tested. She didn't test it on herself.
I imagine in the course of sparring at all, he is big and clumsy and lumbering and trips and falls over things and probably knocks over a tree or two or some nearby thing as he's trying to get his bearings. He's never been super nimble on his feet, but especially now that he's a giant, denser version of himself.
Yeah, and however Ava created a spell that shrank the entire world is.
The power.
Seems like that's the way more complicated way to do this.
Don't critique me, mortal.
Oh man, I should have... Giant Sal's voice should be bigger and deeper.
Yes.
Remember that next time.
Okay. And that's it. Those are the two things. Otherwise, she is in the lab with Lily, and they alternate between intensive sessions of studying, sometimes together, a lot of times apart, and bickering with each other about different things.
Just a couple small Cypher moments. She is sitting down in the main floor of the Wanderlust and has a doing the math on number of siblings. A 6 bunny assembly line of prepping and dealing with all of the this red velvet seaweed that she collected, with everyone just sort of working away at it studiously. At night, the room that she shares with her mother and her siblings has has 4 beds in it that they sort of split between and share, not in any particular uniformity. No one really seems to sleep in the same bed twice. But whenever Cyphern is there, there are always at least 2 completely empty beds, and Cyphern sleeps curved around just a pile of siblings. Even Brainwine, though she's a little bit older, sleeps with her face buried in Cyphern's back. And at some point during this period of days, Cyphern will also dip out and kind of vanish for just about a week. And as has become kind of her usual. And during the time that she's gone, if you ever catch sight of one of her younger siblings, they have a mischievous twinkle in their eye, like they know something that you don't.
Casey is relaxing in his house, empty and quiet, kind of just lounging up in some of the cargo netting that's strung along the high ceilings. And he's laying back, tossing a ball of flame into the air, catching it. And as he tosses it up and catches it, he says, well, I mean, maybe they would like you better if you were more outgoing. Like, you barely said a thing to them. Of course, they're kind of don't really trust you. And the 2 eyes and the grinning smile that is always a grinning smile appear in his shadow as the shadow dances on the wall from the flame going up and down. He says, I mean, you can at least put in an effort, that's all I'm saying. And the smile and eyes look back at him and blink. A moment passes and he says, do you think Sal has tried to ride Poppy? I mean, she must be fast. She's big enough. I mean, maybe not for Sal, but... And he ponders a moment. He says, let's go see Sal. And he hops down and runs out, presumably to talk to Sal about seeing if he can ride Poppy.
Interestingly, in my vignette, I'd planned to show up to your obstacle course so we can tie those things in together if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
During the time that we have, Sal settles into the routine that he's built in the aftermath of the way the town's changed. Categorizing and labeling things, organizing them in his little display case, but adding some extra steps to it. He's started doing a regular census of the people that are around, just checking in, dropping by the memorial. And since Shalani usually led combat training while Vithedrian had taken on other responsibilities, Sal shows up at Casey's obstacle course because he realized after the last fight he needs to know more than just how to take a hit, but how to move around a little better. And he looks at this towering, ramshackle combination of seemingly disparate objects that I'm sure make some sort of semblance of sense to the mind of Casey. And then he knocks on the door. If there's a door. Actually, it's probably like a curtain or a net. I just swipe to the side and say, you in there?
Sal. Casey kind of jumps down from the ceiling area. Hey, welcome.
So you've been doing some serious renovations. Hard to miss even from a distance. I was thinking after I fumbled around and did that flying punch that you so eloquently described as something intentional, that I could maybe practice moving about this. Is that stable? He says as he looks at your creation.
I mean, the parts that are meant to be stable are. You want to give it a go? I mean, each section is custom tailored to a different thing that you're trying to do. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to turn invisible? Because I have a section for that.
I can already do that. There's not like a start and a finish.
I mean, not really. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to jump really far? Because if you need to jump really far,
I got an idea. You know how you always learn things from other people by having them show you? Show me once. How's it work? I'll follow your lead.
Give me a moment. Yeah, okay. So there's this section over here. You know that thing that Shalati does sometimes, where she like spits acid.
Like verbal, like acidic words, or the actual corrosive poison that she'll shoot in your eyes if you look at her wrong. The second one. Yeah.
Poison,
I know that.
Yeah. Over here, there's some targets for that sort of thing. And he leads you over to a section where there are several walls and little planks of wood that are set up, and some of them are kind of half corroded and melted down. And the ground is just pockmarked with all these little divots in the ground. He's like, so, I mean, this is kind of the section that I used to learn how to do this sort of thing. And so, yeah. And he like clicks his hand, and a ball of energy appears and kind of cycles through different elements, and then turns green and bubbling. And he runs up onto the wall and kind of kicks off to the side past another barrier. And just as he clears that barrier, he slings it back across himself and hits this piece of upright wood that's intact, and it hits it and kind of splatters over it and starts to melt and disintegrate there. And he rolls out of it and skids to a stop in the dust. And yeah, so
All right, yeah, I can probably do that. He does not. He runs and jumps, tries to bounce off a wall, but he's a little too big, a little too heavy, and the scale of the objects just doesn't quite fit him, and his lands square on his elbow and just slides onto his shoulder and gets hit square in the leg with one of those acid balls. Yowls for a second. Well, that... All right, needs some work.
I mean, like, there's sections that you can practice other things too if you want to come over this way. And he leads you over to another section. And as you enter the section, there's all sorts of like barriers and platforms and stuff set up. And as you enter the section, you hear this little thing start to crank. And you look down and you notice that there was a wire across the entrance to it that your foot is tugged across. And as the cranks turn, you hear these little levers released. And Casey darts to the side in front of you, holds up his hand, and a shield appears in front of him, similar to the one that you created on the train tracks all those days ago. And these kind of rotten tomatoes just hit the shield there against him. And he looks back at you and he says, "You're going to want to move." And he cuts to the other side as you hear more and more levers release and tomatoes just darken the sky as they come flying towards us.
Sal reacts just quickly enough to trap several tomatoes under his shield that he summons onto his arm, and it bounces off his face back into the shield. And again, he looks, well, if it was noodles, it'd be a plate of spaghetti, but someone who told a lot of bad jokes and didn't get the waka wakas they wanted.
If I may, cut to later that night, Salinger's in bed.
Okay.
Bruised, some cuts, a couple burns, stained tomato. A little bit sore. Starting to drift off to sleep. There's light that comes in through your window from the building across the street. You can see your shadow on the wall. But wait, that doesn't make sense. You're lying in bed. And you see at the top of the shadow, two eyes open. Mouth opens up. Shadow. Waves.
It's the first time Sal's been genuinely frightened. He jumps up, pins himself back against the wall, collects himself, breathing heavy, looks to see if Poppy's all right, and then makes eye contact with the shadow and goes, "Mose."
Cut to. Alright.
So, Araya had followed Shalati to the temple. She thinks that's where she's going to be able to do, like, the most help. And it's a very different place now without her sisters and instead filled with farmers. And they've all sort of taken up rooms that are various. And she's using whatever hours of daylight that they have, which it's getting shorter, right? Or longer.
Very slowly the days are getting longer.
Excellent. This works even better then. She uses those hours to help rebuild and create something of the temple that can make it something like a home, but still the temple. She's kind of torn between the role that the building had for her and to her faith, but also helping others when she's not like putting together something. She's spending time in the chambers that were all previously very much so off limits to her as just an acolyte, and reading what books that they hadn't taken to town, looking up histories of maybe any other gods that are mentioned in these, but she keeps to herself except when she goes to maybe visit Shalati out with the sheep and the llama. Shalati is very good with the sheep and the llama, but if Araya's ever close, I don't know if it's the beasts that get riled up by her presence or her tail gets riled up by the beast's presence, but if any of them get even remotely close to her, her tail kind of like it causes unnecessary llama drama, and she sort of visits Shalati, but from a distance, or maybe during mealtime only and not at all. But otherwise is helping with some of the farming, as I have herbalism as a proficiency and I am using it. So yes, she's mini farmer temple priestess.
Sounds good. Llama drama, trademarked.
Llama drama.
There was one day when you were resting inside reading books, and one of the farmers kind of leans in. Priestess Araya?
She sort of like puts one finger as like a bookmark. Yes.
You have a visitor, so okay?
Oh. What? Like somebody coming? Wait, who? She like kind of like gets up, puts her books away.
They're short.
Okay. Her mind immediately is like, oh, it's Ez's mom, and rushes out to the front of the temple.
Yeah. You do see Gwen is there, and this is the first time that you've seen her in a while.
At the temple?
She's come to the temple. She has a little walking stick, backpack on.
Good. Is this your first pilgrimage here? I guess it doesn't really count these days as the same thing, though, huh?
She nods a little bit, but you can see that her expression doesn't brighten up a whole lot. There's a small smile.
How can I help?
Well, I wanted to talk.
Oh, sure. I've got Saloisa's old room, so we can. Yeah, I have tea.
Yeah, she follows after you. Little tiny steps. Lead her to Saloisa's room. And she looks around in the room for a minute before she climbs up and sits on the edge of the bed. I was really upset for a long time.
With what?
Well, there's only one way. Ez could have known. You're the only one I told.
Oh, Gwen. I really, really, really feel that he and you should talk about that kind of thing. Time here is not, it's not guaranteed. And the longer I sat on it, the more I realized that I was keeping a secret from a friend that mattered to him. I didn't realize how much maybe something like that mattered. But I realized it would matter to me too. You know, where you should always talk with Ez. He loves you. There's nothing about your past that would change his being your family, but it could help him. Right? Isn't it true that right now we kind of... You would have told him at some point, right? In his life? Wouldn't you rather tell him before maybe you're gone?
I thought about it for a while. Last couple days. Thought about it a whole lot. And, I don't think I ever would have told him. I think I wanted to keep him safe. Just as long as I could. But I know in the end you weren't wrong to tell him. But I was just trying to keep him safe. I know that you care about him too.
I do, but I think that Esmond values ignorance the least, even if it implies safety. I think I'm sorry you couldn't trust me.
She kind of looks at the ground. Well, I couldn't trust you with the secret, but I trust that you care about us.
Well, that's true.
And that's more important. I was mad at you, but I just wanted to come here and say that I know that you care.
I do. And I care about you as well.
Well, here, look. She kind of pulls her backpack off. She says, fishes around, brings out some parchment paper. It's wrapping. It says, I made you some pies.
Oh wait, there's no priestesses to hide this from. Thank you. I love your pie.
She kind of rushes forward and wraps her arms around you.
Oh, Gwen! She folds her into a very tight hug. Like, we'll both keep Ez safe. But, yeah. His past, it can't hurt him. Not with you and not with us by his side. It, you know.
She nods, sits down, looks around, and says, okay, well, tell me about this place.
This was Saloisa's room. You could tell because it has curtains. That's the perk of a high priestess. And its own private bath that she sort of like opens to a very stark bathroom and like onsen style like bath that has a spring that fills it with hot water and drains out. So it's none of the other priestesses have this. We all have communal bathing rooms that are separate of the main temple.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. It's just the right height so that when you sit down, you could just have everything except for your nose in the water.
Yeah, so as we slowly pull away to Rhea, Gwen, spending the day together. Please add Gwen's favorite screwdriver to your inventory.
No! Do I find it long after she's left?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, spend time with me at your expense, or if you dare.
Alright, well, I guess that's where we'll probably come to an end for tonight.
Good game.
Good game.
Very nice.
It was fun.
Good job. Good job.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, thank you for writing this. Everybody else is a sleepy face.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm exhausted, but thank you. This is very